At MasterCard, we are focused on a world beyond. Beyond the card as we know it. Beyond payments as we know them. Beyond the digital divide. Because at MasterCard, we are focused on where the world is going next. Towards safer and even more secure digital transactions, where contactless technology is within the reach of everyone, and money moves effortlessly, in real time across borders, where buy now, pay later plans give people more choice and flexibility, and multiple payment options make new choices possible, where fraud and security concerns are reduced and every transaction can be trusted, where we leverage our technology leadership to develop digital-first, data-driven innovations and enable new networks beyond payments.
Recording in progress.
And their successes when they liberated their territory from Russians. 37 companies who are located in Dnipro and Dnipro region, they are members of the EBA and they are part of our Dnipro branch. They also continue to produce, to trade, and we have a few representatives today who will tell us about their circumstances. 54 member companies in Odessa and Odessa region continue to be upfronting actually with business in these terrible circumstances despite suffering from closing of the Black Sea ports and access to logistics. 86 member companies in Lviv and Lviv region were not only operating all these 9 months, but they were also serving as a refugee shelter camp for those ones who relocated from all over Ukraine. It's a huge solidarity and collaboration of the business community, local authorities, and ordinary people which allow us to stand. EBA is going through this traumatic period of history together with you. From day one, we as EBA was collective voice of the business community. Quite often, we were bothering you with different polls and surveys, and I'm very sorry for this, as we distracted you from your everyday job and survival mode and adjusting to the new normality. But nevertheless, we wanted to not only transmit to the public information about how businesses are doing in the current circumstances, we also wanted to convey the message that you are resilient and strong enough in order to be committed to stay in the country and actually make good results. We have noticed that advocacy has become even more important. Advocacy communication with the government has become even more important this year compared to the previous ones. Through the EBA committees, you managed to address 304 different initiatives. And with the support of the government, 66% of them have been successfully resolved for your benefit. You also managed to raise around 179 different individual cases, and thanks to Ukrainian government, 84% of them, they were resolved in your favor. Somewhat naturally, some of you are thinking about global expansion. It came to us because we also are looking how to adjust to the new normality. And we wanted, actually, to support this vector. And that's why we, as European Business Association, established a few months ago our extraterritorial arm, Global Business for Ukraine, and which is now registered in Switzerland. And its main task is actually to mobilize the Ukraine-friendly business community all around the world, and also at the same time help Ukrainian companies who would like to expand, actually make their life easier on the global market. So the key lessons at this stage are, you need to be resilient and never give up, actually, because the solution will be found. You need to be agile, you need to be flexible to quickly take decisions. You need to collaborate, because currently even competitors collaborate, and that helps actually to adjust to the new reality. And you need to learn Ukrainian, you need to speak Ukrainian, because it's now the new fashion of the country and of the world. To zoom forward and looking actually into 2023, I can also feel that we are full of optimism and hope. We are again ready to adjust to all new challenges. We don't know what is going to happen, but what I know for sure, that EBA will stand for you, and it will stand with you. In order actually to go through this dramatic period of the history, we will win, because we are on the right side of the history. Glory to Ukraine. Slava Ukraini. And now I would like to pass the floor to welcome Tiberio Dima, the President of European Business Association and Managing Director, the CEO of BSF Ukraine.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for your introduction. Dear friends, Yes, Anna mentioned already, and we all know 9 months has passed since the war started. And the first thing I want to do today is to think with gratitude and many thanks to a quite large number of stakeholders. The most important stakeholder, which we should be all grateful for, is the Ukrainian army. The mere fact that we are able to keep the annual general membership meeting today, we owe this to the professionalism and courage and bravery of Ukrainian army. Otherwise, would have been probably not possible. The second group is the state institutions, starting from President Zelensky, which became a role model of modern leadership for everybody in the world, continuing with the Ukrainian government, all state institutions, National Bank of Ukraine. They have done a tremendous job to keep Ukraine surviving and fighting this war on all fronts, on the military front, on the economical front, on the social front. I would also like to thank European Business Association members, all the CEOs of our member companies. You all clearly defined and lived two priorities since the war started: protecting your people and ensuring your business continuity. I observed that in all the crisis plans, in all the colleagues that I talked to, we all had the same priorities: people and business continuity. Both very important, both hand in hand, to keep Ukraine economically viable during these challenging times. My next thanks goes to employees of European Business Association, which within very challenging times, while fleeing the war zone and maybe relocating to other location or to different countries, continued working and continuing supporting on a daily basis the European Business Association members. The executive team of EBA has done also an amazing job keeping the team motivated, finding new ways and new relevance for what European Business Association is doing, and opening the international arm of EBA, Global Business for Ukraine. And I also want to thank my fellow board members. Despite the very challenging situation, we kept the board meetings every month online. We had a good presence during the meeting. We have up to 80%, sometimes even 100% presence in the board meetings. Everybody was very engaged. Everybody was, of course, very tired and exhausted. Nevertheless, we took time once per month to meet and to see how can we serve Ukraine the best in these extraordinary and very challenging times. Those 9 months that passed were for all of us a dramatic, tragic, but also inspiring experience. And I would like to focus now on what inspired us most during these 9 months. And the first thing that comes into my mind is the bravery of Ukrainian people, starting from the old men and women which are stopping Russian tanks with their bare hands, or from the Ukrainian army soldiers which are ready to give their lives. We all know there were queues of young people, young men, going to register to the military office to fight for the freedom of Ukraine. This is truly inspiring, and we will never forget that. The second inspiring thing was the extraordinary solidarity among Ukrainians and also within the international community. We have never witnessed such level of, in our lifetimes, such level of solidarity. The neighboring countries mobilized themselves at all levels and welcomed the Ukrainian refugees, creating reasonable conditions for them to live, to relocate, and to feel the warmth of a good person, to feel that they are treated like humans. And something which it's also very inspiring and will stay for a long time with us is what I like to call the legendary Ukrainian resilience. There was so many discussion about it, and we've seen so many examples of resilience, of raising from the ashes and rebuilding what was destroyed. And this is particularly important, this resilience, when we look forward. And talking about the way ahead of us, looking ahead, what is important? First of all, to achieve victory, and not any type of victory, but total victory. And we are seeing every day that Ukrainians will not just give up. There will be total victory. There is no doubt about it, and Ukraine will prevail. Once the victory is achieved, and even before that, a very important thing to be done is to enable the transformation of Ukrainian society, transformation of the mindset of institutions, of state institutions. And that will, of course, enable a proper rebuilding process. Transformation and rebuilding come for all of us, all the stakeholders of a modern society, with a huge responsibility this time. Because the freedom, in this case, is achieved with loss of life, with blood. And we have to keep that in mind. Whatever we will do in the future, we have to remember those which died during this tragic and unnecessary and barbarian war to defend the real values, to defend the freedom, to defend life, to defend love, to defend the humanity. And we all bear, starting from the state institutions, us as an important stakeholder, as business companies and European Business Association, we all bear this responsibility to transform Ukrainian society into a modern, better, and flourishing society and country. So, with that in mind, I can only say three last words, which were also born during this period, and I personally like very much. Все буде Україна. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I should say, really, resilience of Ukrainian people is something known to the world, but also even animals of Ukraine. They seems to be, nowadays very popular and, somehow brave and resilient. So
legendary.
Exactly, yeah. So I would like to invite Rostislav Shurma to welcome us, the deputy head of Office of the President. I would like to thank Rostislav for the whole communication and cooperation throughout the year. We know that we were working with you on almost, weekly basis, if not sometimes on daily basis. And I would like to thank you for this, because we really appreciate this communication dialogue, which is very much needed in this dire time. So Rostislav, the floor is yours.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Good afternoon to everybody. First of all, I would like to start with the many thanks to the all European and global business for their support of Ukrainian people, Ukrainian workers for their position in Russia, because I would say absolute majority of the global and European companies have decided to exit Russia. And this is a very strong signal for everybody in the world. What I would like to focus on, first of all, briefly update on the situation in Ukraine, and second, maybe start discussion on the opportunities that will emerge after the war that we will ultimately win. Obviously, we've entered a very difficult period of winter, and many of the companies participating today in the meeting have the operations in Ukraine, and they already feel all the difficulties of the shortage of electricity. Unfortunately, everybody, maybe by the end of the March, perhaps we will have the shortages of electricity. Not because we were not prepared, we were very well prepared in terms of the resources. We have a decent stock of natural gas, we have a decent stock of coal, well prepared in the nuclear, in the thermal heating to provide everybody with electricity. But just a second, I need to check.
It's connection with Ukraine.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, yes. So we were quite prepared in terms of the resources, but unfortunately, Russia has severely destroyed our transmission infrastructure, and that's why we are locked in many energy islands. Let's call it so. When we can produce the electricity, but we cannot supply it to our customers, neither to people nor to business. And as far as you know, the lead times for the supply of the equipment, proper energy equipment, are very high. We are now sourcing all the stocks in Ukraine, in Europe, just to recover what we can, but we expect that the attacks will continue and they'll continue the pressure on our energy system. So it means that the next 4 months will be really quite difficult. Difficult for the people and for the business. So, and we should plan the operations properly. But the good sign is that everybody now understands that perhaps this is perhaps the worst that Russia can do for us, because they cannot enter the country and seize the country. They don't have the capacity to do this. They can simply harm the most critical parts of our infrastructure, and they will do it as long as they will be able to do this. And we do understand that, again, the stock of missiles is already reaching their end. We are working intensively on the air defense systems to be able to shoot the missiles that they are sending to us. So we believe that the next 3 to 4 months, we will be quite able to stabilize the situation. The good sign is that the global business and specifically the global financial institutions start to seriously look at Ukraine and consider Ukraine business opportunities. And the first signs that such big financial institutions like BlackRock, like Morgan Stanley, like JP Morgan, like Citibank, like Goldman Sachs already intensively watching the opportunities in Ukraine tells perhaps that they really see the value, and these are the first signs that after the end of the war, there is the big business opportunity for everybody. And maybe let's have a look not what we as Ukrainian wants from the European business, but what European business can get from Ukraine, because all the business is being built on the profits, on the perspective, on the yields. So basically, in our strategy that we are now designing and will be presenting to all the global business, we see a couple of really strong opportunities where you can come and where you can earn money and build and expand your business. The first one is about the green energy, because Russia has been traditionally a huge supplier of the energy resources for Europe, of all the type of fossil fuels, of hundreds of million tons of oil, 150 billion cubic meters of natural gas, 100 million tons of coal. All these resources will be phased out and need to be replaced with something new and something green. And obviously the land capacity, the solar and wind capacity of Europe itself is not sufficient to feed all the citizens of Europe and feed all the industry in Europe. And here Ukraine can become a really good and strong, reliable partner, which will supply the green electricity, green energy, green hydrogen to Europe. Because we have enough land, we have enough energy resources, we have enough solar, wind, biofuel potential to become the sustainable supplier of the green resources for the Europe. And this is, I think, we think one of the biggest business opportunities for all the European countries to come here after the war and invest in the green energy and all the segments. The second one is about the manufacturing. Traditionally, China has been one of the key elements in the supply chains of all of the European businesses. Now, when the political situation tightens, and in China as well, and obviously when the China policy changes to become China for China, there are huge risks for the supply chains of any European company. At the same time, Ukraine can offer basically what has China offered for 30 years to all the European and American companies, to become the low-cost manufacturing base for all the types of industries. But with the one big advantage, the China is 30 to 45 days of the lead time supply for any type of the components. Ukraine will be within 48 to 72 hours of the lead time supplies on the inland railway or car logistics. And this is the huge advantage. Production of any type of components. We have everything for that, all the types of natural resources, the skilled, qualified, not really expensive people to localize the production in Ukraine. So I believe that almost any company that is present today at the meeting can consider their supply chain, can analyze what they get from China, what are the risks there, and what can be the upside potentially installing these operations in Ukraine. Another way to look at this sphere is to compare what you did in Russia before, because many of you had operations in Russia. There were hundreds of factories built by the European countries working for the Russian market and regional market. Ukraine itself is not a substantially smaller market than Russia. Russia is 140 million people, Ukraine is 40 million people. But the big advantage is that the European market now is open for the production in Ukraine. It means from the sources in Ukraine, you'll be able to supply not only 140 million people that you supplied in Russia, but you'll be able to supply the 40 million in Ukraine plus 500 million people in living in the all European Union and all the business around these people. Number three is about agri-processing. Ukraine is I would say, one of the biggest and one of the most important suppliers of the raw food for the global markets. What I mean raw food is about the grain, maize, sunflower, etc. It's well above 100 million tons per year. What is our idea and what can be the logic for you and for us to install the agri-processing in Ukraine, because it will be cheaper to transport, because this is 3 to 5 times smaller and less in size. This is cheaper to convert to the finished product in Ukraine because of the labor, because of the energy resources, etc. This is about everything, about the meat, about the oil, about the spirits, about the feed, etc. So about the milk products. So this is number three opportunity. And obviously number four opportunity is a traditional IT sector, because Ukrainian engineers and Ukrainian students, Ukrainian people are one of the most qualified in the world. And we have very strong machine of basically preparing and teaching our young people to become really qualified IT experts. What is our target is not to become the outsourcing partner for, not only to stay as outsourcing partner for the European companies and big companies, but to develop as well the product and development sector, IT sector in Ukraine with the much higher value chain. And here I think there is a huge opportunity for all the type of venture capital, because the upside and market cap growth potential for this type of startups is enormous in Ukraine. So I think these are the opportunities that we'll be happy that you'll start to consider now. Why now? Because you know better than me that to start any operations, you need 6 to 9 months of the preparation period to do the research, to put up the team, to set up some offices, to acquire the land for the operations, to get the approvals. This is what really takes a lot of time, but costs really a few percent of the whole value of the project. So my suggestion, be the first, start now, just to gain the opportunity and gain the market. Slava Ukraini! Thank you.
Andriy Pyshny is the governor's National Bank of Ukraine, a new person for the National Bank, but nevertheless new for our Ukrainian society, not new to our Ukrainian society. So first of all, Andriy, my congratulations with your new position. I wish you all the best, enthusiasm, optimism, skills to deal with different situations which might appear on your way. But most and foremost, I wish you to stick to the wheel of our economy and finance, to have control, to for us to feel calmly under your governance in the financial sector. So, Andriy, please, I would like to give you the floor so you can address business society, business community of European Business Association, global business for Ukraine. Thank you, Anna, for such kind words. Thank you for greetings. I would like to address to the I would like to say that the whole group of the National Bank of Ukraine stand to preserve financial front and financial defense. So, welcoming speech. Dear community, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to see you here today. Welcome you. The main topics of our discussions are very key about brave economy, brave vision, winter expectations, and critical infrastructure, where these topics are very up to date, very important. In each of those topics, we have own context about bravery of courage of Ukrainians and those who are helping and supporting Ukraine. Concerning each action or a decision that have been taken for the 9 months, but also with the view to the future on the war scene and on the background in any kind of sphere, transport, energetic, or any other, we have support. Organizations of today's event felt it very well because they have very correct vector of the discussion. In the conditions of this war, we have no right for anything else. Ukraine is undergoing the most difficult challenges for its whole history, and we are gaining our future for very high price for us and for the whole world. I am very grateful to each and every one of you, to each and everyone who has done, is doing, and will be taking this responsibility, this courage to make contributions to our work. We will have, of course, ramifications with the long-lasting effect, collapse of the downsize of economical activity, potential of economy, gross domestic product, according to the forecast of National Bank, is 3 times smaller now, 3 times less. We are talking about unprecedented scales of challenges. But with joint and, of course, courage efforts of National Bank and other financial regulations, international partners, we have been able to support financial stability and price stability. We, and I can talk about this freely today, have been controlling inflation process in a pretty good and quality way. Yes, decisions are not so easy. War is a period of not so simple decisions, but at least I can say that the situation is under control. Bank system has been demonstrating huge courage. The 9th month of full-fledged war, and it has been working. It's profitable, and it got record liquidity, and still continue crediting. I am absolutely sure that functioning bank system, stable system that can guarantee constant functioning, is obviously today is one of the biggest advantages of Ukraine in this war. Today, as never before, it's very important to have support to banking system to the level of the new driver, mobilizing financial resources, but also using it for financing economy. Of course, saving proper level of financial stability. National Bank has the opportunity to work on this. For this, we have key factors. We have a proper potential in the form of liquidity of banks. We have set of financial tools from different options of crediting, taking into account unprecedented programs of state support that were approved by the initiative of the President of Ukraine. There is an understanding. We can say that we even have green light from the side of national bank and government. We are ready to have constructive cooperation and creating a proper environment for business working generally, but also for banks to invest their resources to Ukrainian economy, to assets of the country. From the very beginning of our national bank simplified everything that was possible to simplify to guarantee balance from exchange rate, price stability. I can assure you that National Bank will continue and will make softer those limitations that we had to impose and regulation demands, by at the same time staying transparent and open. It is important to remember that stable banking system is a great achievement of Ukraine after the crisis of 2014-2015 years. During this war, Ukrainian bank system has entered as stable, resilient, just because of this. That's why we managed to save this benefit I have talked about, functioning banking system in the conditions of the full-scale war. Institutionally strong and independent national bank is also the aim, and at the same time, and I understand it very clearly, together with the same team, it's our common resource that helps us to conduct constructive, effective, and resultive negotiations with international partners and form this circle of trust to the level of professionalism, responsibility of those decisions that are made by the company of the National Bank. Generally, for many people, key precondition for our victory is a large-scale and constant support, international support of Ukraine. On behalf of the National Bank, I would like to express my gratitude to each of our partners, first of all, for their courage and for their partnership, for the dialogue, and for understanding that we need to win in this war. We need to win together. In the context of prospects for 2023, we cannot but remember newly presented by the European Commission plan for help for Ukraine for 18 billion of euros. It is extremely important initiative, very needed for Ukraine. A catalysator of this financing should be cooperation with IMF. And last week, we actually finished second mission that personally in my heart raises optimism. I believe in result of our joint works with the Ministry of Finances in this cooperation with IMF, and I am sure that our partners will be with Ukraine in 2023. Support of IMF is one of the key factors of wide expanded support our donors. The budget of 2023 needs such support. For our economic renewal, taking into account this very promising combination of preconditions for supporting and renewing economy of Ukraine, now we need one most important thing: to have courage to stand with Ukraine in future, to make brave decisions, to act courageously and together, to have a very to look in the future despite all our uncertainty. Bravery is not the lack of fear, but it's the strength of moving ahead despite everything. I would like to finish my speech with Ronald Reagan's words: "Future does not belong to enlightened hearts; it belongs to brave." Let's stay brave for our future, for our country, for our people, for our children. Glory to Ukraine. Thank you for the opportunity to have this speech. Thank you, Andrei. I would like to say that bravery actually it's not something that Ukrainian businessmen lack. Of course, we are studying from the armed forces of Ukraine, but we are also looking at the office of the president. But nevertheless, it seems to me that we all are brave and we support this want for Ukraine to win, and we want our business to be committed to stay with Ukraine. It will stay with Ukraine, and it will even bring new investments. And the key message that I personally heard is that banking system is under control. Everything is going to be okay. Independence of the national bank in your hands is without any threats. We have cooperation with international institutions. Everything is on its way. So everything will be good. Everything will be Ukraine, as Tiberia has mentioned. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Andrei. We are ready for cooperation. Thank you.
Anna, thanks for your warm greeting. Indeed, iron diplomacy, as we call this program, is important for the country, is important for us. And so far, when Jose Andres was awarded yesterday by the president of Ukraine, we reviewed the list of the ally of the bravery in Ukraine, and we noticed one thing. All the people there are our clients, are our passengers. So it's really an honor for us to bring all those people to Kyiv and back. Well, no one expected that Ukraine will stand in this war. No one expected many things. That's why we are in line with the what president is doing, what the army is doing, and we are doing our job as well. So indeed, since the first days of this war, we became the backbone of security of the country when we evacuated 4 million people inside the country. And on the 20th day of the war, we started caring about the economy. We understood that if we don't pay attention to economy, we would be in trouble. So what we call iron economy appeared to start as well as on 20th day of the war. That's where we started talking to large industrial groups, large industrial companies, factories, businesses, and asked them to get back to operations, to reshuffle their logistics of raw materials, finished goods. That's where we helped them and asked them to get back to life. Together with Yulia Sverdenko, who will be also on a panel today, together with the Minister of Infrastructure, Alexander Kubrakov, we traveled across the whole country. We traveled in the industrial areas. At least 3 visits were made where we met with the industrial factories and asked them to get back to life. Good example is ArcelorMittal. We helped to stop their ovens in a proper way when the war began. And then we helped them to relaunch the factory. It was an honor for me and my team to be invited for the relaunching of the factory. I remember that day, and I'm sure that we will do much more hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder with Ukrainian international business to grow the economy of the country. We've been a partner for Ukrainian international business inside because we do understand that growing economy is vital for the war, is vital for the country to live on. Good example is increasing of the western border corridors. We grew the output, we grew the export through the western border corridors from 1% before the war up to 30% in the middle of the war. And that was done in a number of ways. First one is the infra. We rebuilt the connecting points with Moldova, Romania, and Poland. That's about 50 kilometers of new track construction, which we done during the war. And that increases our output, our capacity to export more, and gives more business to European countries and European logistics companies as well. Another good idea, another good project is, Black Sea Grain Initiative. Thanks to Minister Kubrakov, we got this project done, and now it's extended. And that's how we bring the grain up to seaports, also by rail. That gives us an opportunity to export more as the country. We established export office inside railways, inside Ukrzaliznytsia, where we get together with all the businesses at least twice a month, discuss what else we can do to help Ukrainian international companies do more business with Ukraine and ease the logistics. The main point is that we come to European Union, we come to European companies with the message that definitely we are under fire, definitely we're shelled, but we got more cargo we can bring to European Union. That's new business opportunities for European logistics companies, processing companies, and trading companies. And that's how we can do more business with them. Doing business with Ukraine, you help us and you got more opportunity for yourself. And I'm sure that this message would be more and more loud in the nearest time, because Ukraine, it's not just a brave country. It's also quite entrepreneurial country and industrial country. And I'm sure that European Union will benefit from doing more business with Ukrainians. To finalize, I would say that we've showed that we can be the locomotive of security when we successfully evacuated people and brought in the humanitarian aid. We've showed that we can be the locomotive of economy when we increased the capacity for western borders and supplied our seaports when the Black Sea Grain Corridor was open. And I'm sure that we are ready to become the loco of rebuilding Ukraine once it will start. Thanks. Thank you.
The Deputy Head of Defense, Hanna, hello, nice to see you. We are happy to see you on the general meeting of Business Association, I can say that our Armed Forces and Ministry of Defense are fantastic, and we all understand that if it was not but you, it would be very, very difficult, and we would be in extremely different conditions. Thank you for this business approach, and we understand that it's on your shoulders. Ministry of Defense will be the biggest part of financing of Ukrainian economy, and business that is located in European Business Association will be happy to cooperate with the Ministry of Defense and somehow join the strengthening of positions of armed forces and position of our country. So Anna, thanks a lot for joining us. Now the floor is yours. Hello, everybody. I am extremely grateful for this invitation. Yes, now you see we're living in such times when without Ministry of Defense and armed forces, no event can take place practically, and probably we have to get used to this, because after the war, after the victory, we will be the country of a different model. We will be building our country on the foundation of security, safety, priority, and in our life we will integrate this topic of protection of our country. As far as I understand, there were some questions, yes, that you wanted me to answer. Or do you expect, if we just wanted to hear from you some kind of inspirational speech? Everything will be okay. Ukrainian armed forces will protect our country. And when we have this victory, it would be really great to hear the answer to this question, even though I understand that you cannot give the answer to this question, and nobody on this planet can give this answer when the war ends. But you are closer to the source of information. So can you please give us at least some orientation for business? What can we expect? Can we expect the war will be finished in the end, already in the next war, as it is forecast by many people, and it's actually such an opinion that till the middle of the next year we actually can already have a peaceful process. Well, it's difficult to have any kind of prognosis here with dates, with specific dates, because we can talk about our actions, we know our plans, but it is difficult to talk about reaction of the enemy. War dynamic. The enemy does not know our reaction, also cannot calculate, estimate terms. For example, Donetsk region, its borders, they wanted to seize it at the beginning of summer, and still they cannot do this. So it was their plans, but their plans were not meant to succeed. So that's why the war is such a cooperation of two parts that is difficult to forecast. But at the same time, what is obvious, that it is obvious that we will win, and several phases of war we have already had that have shown this to us, and our key advantages are motivation, Ukrainian motivation that cannot be broken. It's what the whole world is wondered by, and it's our capital, basically capital of our society and our state. And we definitely can say that society that has undergone such war and society that has won, I'm pretty sure that we will win, will be built we'll be building with great resilience economy and everything else. So I think Ukrainian economy will be the most attractive one, taking into account not only motivation, but also qualification of Ukrainians in lots of spheres. And I would like to say that it's worth saying that we actually have already covered this, and we are absolutely sure that we will not just survive this, but state and people all together will be able to with this barbarian ways, because in the 21st century it seems just wild, and this agony actually of barbarian medieval barbarian that we are all observing right now. So we have to win, and here it is important to talk about huge help from our Western partners, because professionalism of our army, it's not even under discussion, but this help of world from the Western world is a huge element, important factor of our victory. Practical question on concerning the way that for men going abroad. It's a very sensitive question, I understand, for country, but very practical for our members, because you understand that to do business, we, at least sometimes, people have to leave the country to work on different business processes, business communication. So we have been expecting those trips that had to start working from the 1st of September of this year. I actually a little bit worried. I'm a little bit mixed with months, but we still don't have it, and it has a very negative impact to all processes, business processes. What is your attitude to a little bit liberalization of this process? Not to look for some different ways of going abroad, but temporarily. It's not everybody wants to return, to get back, but we need to have the freedom of movement here and there. I have this opportunity to say that Ministry of Defense is not dealing with this, as well as armed forces. Customs officers are dealing with this, and yes, we have lots of appeals. Please let this person go, artist, IT specialist, and we all, of course, send them to customs officers. So this is the question solved by them. Concerning our sphere, I can explain that what is mobilizational resource of the country. You have to understand this, that mobilization resource has to be, because it's not possible to wage war without mobilization resource. So just on the of the war, it's understandable. We cannot predict it for 1 or for 2 years. It's understandable from the dynamics of war. What kind of dynamic we see it by the dynamics? What kind of losses we have? What are the actions of our enemy? What is the intensity of actions of hostility? That's where we have to use more people for fighting these attacks. That's why it is planned. That's how we plan needs of mobilization based on the situation that we currently are having. And it is important to understand here that without economy, without conditions, we cannot actually war, because it's provision, first of all. But on the other hand, if we do not have state, then we will not have economy. So in this situation, we have to strictly, clearly understand the priorities. As of now, there were comments by the general staff that general headquarters, that they don't need to increase mobilization plan, but it is not correct to say that it will stay like this. It all depends on the dynamics of the war. Nevertheless, you know that there was a law adopted by the Verkhovna Rada, and before that there were changes introduced to the decree of Ministry of Defense that women can voluntarily go to the army except medicine professions. General headquarters mentioned that they have no need for women to mobilize them and to be called on. So we have more or less such understanding of the situation as of now. Thank you for explanation, Anna. I definitely we will be very grateful if the Ministry of Defense can not block liberalization of e-trips, e-business trips, because what we got first information is that Ministry of Defense is against this implementation of e-business trips, but I think that you in the government should deal with this, and you need to understand that economic front has to be stable also, and you will be able to solve the issues that will help Ukraine in general. Armed forces will not suffer from this because business will definitely happily continue helping and supporting armed forces because we are all in the same boat. And if armed forces can do this, then we will all win. So this is just the target is to make economical front stable as well. But I'm absolutely sure that we will all find a decision. Yes, it's very important to have a subject talk here that Ministry of Defense is against who exactly is against and what kind of event was it where it was against. It was discussion of what? Is it some kind of decree resolution or what? Because I think that it's a little bit preliminary to say that it is the position of the institution. We need to understand what kind of question was discussed, what kind of issue was discussed. Yes, I just would like to use this opportunity to invite you on a separate meeting, if it's possible, to or discuss all these questions actually topically, because it's a very painful issue, not only for business sector, economic sector, but lots of sectors that are in European business situation. And I think we need a separate meeting, separate discussion here to solve everything and to achieve some kind of decision. So thank you, and we are moving forward. I now would like to give the floor to Mr. Alexander Bordякov, the representative of our digital front, because without you on the digital front, we will not be able to deal. So Alexander.
Alexander, welcome. Thank you so much for your work and the work of your team. What can we expect for next year from you? Hello, everyone. Thank you for invitation. Thank you for allowing me to be here. We've been working for a long time. Prior to, if Ms. Anna is here now, prior to starting my speech, I would like to say a few words. So currently, we are moving past the adoption of a new law where we have to develop additional legislation. And there was a significant call where the Ministry of Defense participated, and their position was not very constructive. And during that call, we also discussed the business trips. And so we have to understand that this is not the official stance of the Ministry of Defense as a whole, that it's just that some people participating in these discussions, because we don't really feel like those representatives of the ministry are willing to assist us. We have a significant issue with the IT industry. Since the beginning of the war, only 2,500 individuals were booked. So for 300,000 individuals working in IT, only 2,500 were allowed to have a trip. A lot of people were booked for telecom industries. So 20,000 people were engaged for that. But for the IT industry, this is a very low number. And so the companies are actually expecting to have this mechanism developed. International companies are working with our IT industry. So I think that we do have to arrange a meeting with representatives of the Ministry of Defense. That would be really cool if that were to take place. All right, yeah, we'll take care of it. That's for sure. But what can we expect for next year from the Ministry of Digital Transformation? What type of cool projects? Because we heard a lot of rumors, a lot of spoilers, like how can you get married in a metaverse? But can you give some more specific details that we can take as inspiration, as a reason for optimism, for being hopeful? What do you expect from business community? What do you think you need to assist in your endeavors? What can I add? Well, there are many services that we will be announcing next year. I don't want to spoil it ahead of the summit, which DIA Summit is usually the place where we discuss these new services, where we announce them for the first time. And I really hope it will take place in Davos, like last year. but maybe the format will be different this time. If some of you were present last year in Davos, you probably remembered how Mikhail Fedorov presented a lot of the features that are operational today. Amongst really interesting new things, I can tell you that right now we are carrying out negotiations with multiple governments. DIA developers were offered to produce similar digital solutions for other countries, and I think this is a great evaluation of our work. So Ukraine is one of these digital transformation standards on a state level. Because after the beginning of the war, we face this issue of digital integration of Ukrainian citizens abroad. And the first important step of solving this issue is that the countries that are neighboring in Ukraine would accept DIA digital documents, because currently Moldovan legislation is about to be changed. They're about to change legislation to accept digital documents. And we're also negotiating with other countries who were interested in DIA. This was also sort of a breakthrough for us, because Ukraine and Estonia will be cooperating in digital transformation field. And one of the first steps of this cooperation will be us assisting Estonia in producing their own app, DIA-like app. And we will exchange those lessons learned with Estonia of introducing services online. We have signed a memorandum of cooperation, and the pilot app will probably be launched by the end of the year. For example, in Poland, Ukrainians can use a specific DIA document in the Polish app, which is called Mi Obywatel. And in the end of July, DIA has received an official status of digital permit, digital living permit document, which can be used on other EU borders. The EU is about to launch a single wallet, EU digital wallet. And we will also like to participate in this pilot as well. It will strengthen our digital integration with the EU. This is really cool. This is actually really cool, and I'm wishing you all the best on this difficult road. I can say that we as a team worked a lot with your team. We were very happy to do that, and we were involved in creating this large pavilion, the Web Summit. There was a great opportunity for Ukraine, and I can back this up on the global level. We see that Ukraine is recognized as a digital country. This is something that we have to spread, raise awareness of, and I would like to also offer a cooperation on Davos, because our extraterritorial office, our colleagues in Switzerland, they offered to assist with this project in Davos to make sure that not only the IT sector would be represented, but also the entire Ukrainian economy as a whole. So we would be happy to discuss all these opportunities with you to make sure that we can cooperate not only on the project that you're planning, but also to engage you as much as possible into different meetings, breakfasts, lunches, dinners, to make sure that you raise this awareness in terms of digital transformation of Ukraine, and to engage as many investors as possible. So thank you so much, and we'll move on. Thank you.
At MasterCard, we are focused on a world beyond. Beyond the card as we know it. Beyond payments as we know them. Beyond the digital divide. Because at MasterCard, we are focused on where the world is going next. Towards safer and even more secure digital transactions, where contactless technology is within the reach of everyone, and money moves effortlessly, in real time across borders, where buy now, pay later plans give people more choice and flexibility, and multiple payment options make new choices possible, where fraud and security concerns are reduced and every transaction can be trusted, where we leverage our technology leadership to develop digital-first, data-driven innovations and enable new networks beyond payments.
Allow the country actually to fall away, to stand, to collapse. What is the situation assessment from your side? Could you please share? And what should we expect for the next year? I don't hear you. We don't hear you. No sound, Bahram. Do we hear? What happens? Oh, could you please start again, Bahram? I'm sorry for these technical problems. I can, of course, read from the lips, but nevertheless, could you please unmute? In case it's possible. Oh, now we hear you, yes.
We all have seen devastating social and economic impacts of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We have seen the fiscal deficit ballooning to accommodate a very large expansion of defense spending. And This deficit has been primarily financed by external financing and central bank financing. The inflation targeting regime was replaced by a hard peg to the US dollar. And we have seen quite high rates of inflation in the economy. So the situation, the economic situation has been very challenging. There has been a colossal damage to the infrastructure, and more recently, especially to energy infrastructure, which of course weighs on economic activity. So for this year, we have our latest estimates for economic activity suggest about that the real economy will contract by about a third in 2022. And we see that next few months will be extremely challenging for the Ukrainian economy as the winter sets in and as destruction of energy infrastructure continues, unfortunately. For the 2023, we expect the economy to stabilize. We are in the process of finalizing our projections. So I cannot tell you the final number now, but very soon we will be able to release it. But what we expect is not a strong recovery, but at least we expect the economy to stabilize with some modest growth, hopefully in 2023. I'd like also to mention that the authorities deserve considerable credit for having maintained an important degree of macro-financial stability in these extremely difficult circumstances. As you know, we are in the process currently of negotiating program monitoring with board involvement. This is a new type of IMF instrument that the authorities have requested. Our mission started about 10 days ago, and we are, in my view, very close to concluding. I mean, we still have some open issues to discuss, but overall, I personally am optimistic, and hopefully we will soon be able to say about the results of the mission. Unfortunately, until we have concluded and formally announced the agreement, I cannot give you the details of the discussions or what are the results. What I can share with you,
yes.
I'm hopeful, I'm optimistic, but we need to wait until it's formally, we conclude formally. But what I can share with you is that the broad areas where we have been, around which we have been having discussions. And these relate to government's fiscal policies, revenue policies, and the need to raise more revenues. The financing mix of the fiscal deficit with a greater focus on domestic financing of the deficit. Also, financial sector strategy for preparing for gradual normalization in the sector, and also assessment of the state of the banking sector, and governance issues. And using the opportunity, I'd like to thank again our counterparts, National Bank of Ukraine team and the Ministry of Finance team for very open and constructive discussions that we have had during the past 10 days. Let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I would like really to express that we are very positive and optimistic with regards to potential outcome of your mission. At least we would like to have it like this. So because we understand that in case IMF will not give its yes, it will be very difficult for Ukrainian economy to continue doing fine. We, of course, as business community, we will be committed to economic front. We will stay in Ukraine. We will pay taxes. We will actually pay taxes to the state budget. But nevertheless, obviously, it is not enough because even from consideration of the Ministry of Finance and the state budget, we understand that the deficit needs to be actually filled in with some external support. So obviously, this is really crucial for sustainability of the economy. I would like to invite to the discussion Sergei Nikolaichuk from National Bank of Ukraine. Sergei, how does the situation look from your side? And we've heard already the statements from Andriy Pyshny, but nevertheless, could you elaborate, please, a little bit more with regards to the possibility of, the National Bank of Ukraine actually to keep everything under control in the banking system, and from the macroeconomic point of view, what kind of indicators we should expect for the future? What could be potential development of hryvnia, because we see gradual devaluation of that?
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, I'm greatly honored to speak at this event among such distinguished speakers. Thank you very much for inviting me. And indeed, Ukrainian banking system and economy at all have shown impressive resilience in the face of the greatest danger and full-scale war. Our banking system, despite the war, remains works reliably and smoothly, remains liquid, profitable, and continues to lend. Actually, we attribute that to a set of factors. Well, first of all, that are the reforms which we conducted before the war, after the crisis of 2014-15 and severe economic and financial crisis. I mean, reforms in the area of the monetary policy, in the area of the banking supervision, and so on. Also, I would highlight the business continuity plans which were developed by us and by banking system in advance before the war, again, based on our experience in 2014-15. So definitely, so these plans helped us a lot, but definitely these plans rarely envisaged a full-scale war. So anyway, the bravery of the employees of the Ukrainian financial system, of their customers, all that helped a lot to maintain the macro-financial stability in the country. Also, I would highlight the emergency measures which were implemented by Ukrainian Central Bank and other authorities in order to maintain macro-financial stability. So our first steps were directed to preventing panic and disruptive behavior, ensuring the uninterrupted function of the banking system and payments, keeping the economy running under unprecedented shock and reining in inflation expectations. So we implemented wide-ranging emergency measures to preserve financial stability. Well, first of all, fixed the official exchange rate to US dollar, as Vakram already mentioned. Yes, so from our point of view, the exchange rate started to play the role of the nominal anchor for expectations and went on to become the main instrument for curbing inflationary pressures and ensuring macro-financial stability in Ukraine. Also, we adjusted the operational design of our monetary policy, which allowed us to provide the liquidity to the banking system and to mitigate the risks for the financial stability from this in this respect. In addition, in the earliest days of the Russian full-scale invasion, so we deployed a wide range of measures to support financial institutions and borrowers. For example, enforced banks to suspend. So we allowed banks to breach their prudential requirements regarding the capital, liquidity, credit risk, and so on. We also facilitated the loans restructuring. We also prohibited the banks from the related party lending, capital distributions, and bonus payments. But definitely, we started to adjust after the first few months of the war. So when we understood that the failed Russian blitzkrieg moved to a war of attrition, we started to adjust our policies. we started to withdraw liquidity measures, liquidity support measures for banks as liquidity has recovered for the most banks. We also raised our interest rate to 25%. We adjusted the exchange rate by 25%. And all these measures, from our point of view, helped us to weaken the pressure on our FX reserves. And together with the acceleration of the international aid inflows, this allowed us to maintain our reserves on the comfortable level. And so far, we are quite, I would say, comfortable in our regulation on the fixed market. So we are quite sure that we can maintain the current status quo. I would call it this way. But definitely, it is too early to relax. So Ukraine has benefited a lot from the safety margin it accumulated before the war. And so we understand very clearly that the stable banking system is a huge achievement of Ukraine after the crisis of 2014-15. It is a result of the hard reforms, and it may be the important driver of post-war economy recovery. And it is very important for us to preserve and multiply this competitive advantage. Because from our point of view, properly capitalized and liquid, the banking system could be the powerful channel for transferring credit for corporates as well as for small and medium-sized enterprises. And that's why actually, as Vahram already mentioned, the diagnostics of the banking system, proper stress tests, and development of the recapitalization plans and their successful implementations with the banks. That is one of the main points of the new of these discussions with the IMF under the monitoring program with support involvement, which we together try to launch. As for Bahram, I also remain optimistic, both in terms of the launch in this program and also in general, in terms of our ability, together with our international partners, to maintain the macro financial stability.
Thank you, Sergey. I think that everyone could only say bravo to the banking system, which was able actually to sustain, and from day one of the war didn't stop. So it was actually operating without any breaks and interruption. I would like just to ask probably one question. It's going to be maybe a little bit sensitive, but I assume that actually majority of member companies and beyond, they are interested how the banking system is being prepared for the blackouts, possible blackouts, because we understand that access to electricity is also important and very essential for the banking system as well. We know that lots of banks, if not majority major banks, they bought generators, etc., in order to secure non-stop operations. But what's your take on this? Could you please give us some outlook on this winter, whether the banking system could cope with the current challenges of possible blackouts?
So, definitely these attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure complicates a lot the life of the households, of the businesses, and also, in particular, the banking system. So during the last weeks, actually, we did I would say, hard job with the banks in order to prepare them and ourselves also for the work in, I would say, in even more hostile environment we faced in the previous months. So far, I suppose that in the nearest future, so the banks will will have the communication campaign with their customers where they explain how they will conduct their businesses even under, I would say, very extremely hard conditions.
But you do not expect any interruptions, right? So you think that everything will go on, not as usual, obviously, right? But nevertheless, we will not be collapsing, right? in terms of the banking
Again,
system?
so I suppose that our experience this year since the beginning of the war showed that we may deal with very difficult challenges. And definitely, the energy blackouts. So that is a huge challenge for everyone, for any business, for any bank. But again, so I am completely sure that with our bravery, with our innovation efforts, so we will be able to find solutions even for such challenges.
Yeah, it seems to me our digital front, economic front, governmental front, military front, they all work together in this solidarity in order to move the country forward through these challenges. And I also tend to believe that everything will be all right. But I wanted to have your assurance that National Bank of Ukraine is also ready and gives this optimism also to business community.
Oh, definitely we are. I would say we are quite optimistic in general, but at the same time, all the time we try to prepare for the new challenges and to be ready for that.
Excellent. This is a good thing. Thank you so much, Sergey. Let's move on Tomasz. Tomasz, I would like to ask you whether your business in general would be prepared for the winter, and then also what kind of outlook and projection you can give to the business community in terms of macroeconomic picture and resilient economy of Ukraine. And I'm very happy to see you.
Well, we are ready for the winter. We have we already had, or we have bought extra generators and a lot of diesel to make sure that in case of any blackouts or interruptions, all of our investments can work without interruptions. But perhaps to start a little bit, to start 9 months ago, and kind of recapture how our thinking has developed since the beginning of the war. As many others, we didn't expect such a full-scale war to materialize. Also, we have made some small preparations with a backup office in Lviv, etc. So we're able to work without any interruptions. But on the 24th, 25th, my expectations were extremely low. I mean, on the way from Kiev to the west, I have written in my head 90% of our investments in Ukraine, just to feel a little bit better about it in the future. But I must say that over the following months, we've been able to restart all of our businesses except those that have been physically damaged. That's a little over 100,000 square meters of warehouse space around Kiev. But every month we have seen the business improve steadily, exceeding actually our initial expectations all the way. This has been in parallel followed by substantial outperformance of Ukraine on all fronts. First of all, military. The results have been very amazing and encouraging, but also infrastructure, telecoms, logistics. You've had Ukraine Railway speaking here earlier, the electricity network, banking sector. Everything is doing better than anybody could have expected before or at the beginning of the war. So that has been really helping, and the macroeconomic stability has been maintained, better than in some other countries this year, which was not very good for emerging markets due to increasing interest rates. So many other markets have done actually worse than Ukraine. There have been few kind of populistic mistakes by the government, a lot EU side. Perhaps, Anna, you can discuss it while you are in Brussels. Ukraine would benefit by the EU being more flexible and faster in increasing the export flows of Ukrainian products into the EU. Unfortunately, our Western neighbors are not as fast and as quick, and we still have a lot of traffic jams on the border, both for trucks as well as for rail cars. There has been, in October, since October 10th, I mean, some of our businesses basically by September have performed almost at the level of pre-war. There's been a small correction after October 10th, around 10% month-on-month decline in comparable results due to the mis-shelling and electricity cutoffs. So we understand that we'll have to live with this throughout the whole winter, and are prepared for that. As for our macro forecast, just to conclude quickly, our research department has just come out today in the morning with their updated forecast for this and for next year. As for GDP, we have decreased our outlook for this year due to these electricity interruptions, in particular, from a 30% decline to 32% decline, and we expect also GDP decline next year of around 5%. That's based on an assumption that the hot phase of the war will continue until the third quarter, and then there'll be then the pace of war will decrease. We're not sure if what it will look like, whether there will be some negotiations or whether just the front line will stabilize and the intensity of the fighting will decrease in the third quarter of next year. As for CPI, we expect average CPI of 20% this year, 21% next year. That's average, not year end. We expect public debts to remain at a manageable level. Increase. Last year we ended at $98 billion. We expect it to grow to $106 billion this year, and $119 billion at the end of last year. As for the foreign exchange reserves, which are very important for our macro stability and currency stability, we expect them to end this year at $27 billion, which is a comfortable level, and next year $28 billion. And we're actually quite optimistic about the exchange rate. This year we'll end up at the current exchange rate of 36.6, which will bring the average to 32.14 to the US dollar. And next year we expect average exchange rate of 38.5, and end of 2023 exchange rate of 43. I mean, here one has to look at the level of the FX reserves, assuming that we'll receive $18 billion from the EU, $18 billion from the US, and some small support also from the IMF in the second half of the year, and from other IFIs. Our total external support next year, we assume, will be $42 billion versus $32 billion in the current year. So an improvement which will allow to keep the reserves at a comfortable level, even if the central bank has to sell up to $4 billion per month, which currently it is selling less. It is selling up to $2.5 billion per month to keep the currency stable. So this is our current outlook. Obviously, these days, the inputs are changing very frequently. So no guarantees.
Our agenda changes very quickly, very frequently, so we can feel the pace of this kind of situation. But I would like, it was a joke, but nevertheless, I would like to thank you for this outlook, optimistic outlook. And if I may, I can quote your response when I asked you about what is your strategy for the next year. I like the response very much. You said it actually can apply to everyone. To stay on the market, continue working, earning earn money and do better than your competitors. So that's why I think that it is a very good motto for everyone actually in terms of next year. And I expect that there would be some sort of substantial financial support which will help us somehow to live through this winter. Let's move on. I would like to ask Inga. First of all, thank you so much for support. I'm advised to speak to you as well in Ukrainian. So, Інга, дякую, щиро дякую вам за те, що ви нас підтримуєте. І незважаючи, до речі, на війну, у нас з вами була домовленість про те, що ви нас підтримуєте стосовно загальних зборів ще до війни, але ви не змінили свої думки, і ви пішли, як ви домовлялись. Тому дуже дякую за те, що ви тримаєте слово. І взагалі хотіла запитати вас стосовно того, як ви бачите взагалі зміни ринку cashless. Ви бачите більше зараз безготівкових розрахунків, чи все-таки більше в кеш йдуть? Які ваші тренди, які ви можете підмітити і поділитися з нами?
Anna, thank you so much. I will start in English as well, but then we'll continue in Ukrainian because currently I'm trying to take each and every opportunity to speak Ukrainian, you know. Thank you so much for this event. It's very, very important to keep discussing trends, insights, and of course, outlook, even in such challenging times. And for me, it's a platform for communication, for insight sharing, and for inspiration. That's why huge thank you for having me as a speaker, and a huge thank you for having MasterCard as a partner of this event. And currently in Ukrainian. Добрий день. Ще раз дуже дякую за те, що є така можливість приєднатися і продовжувати наше спілкування у цей нелегкий час. І що б мені хотілося б сказати на початку, дуже важливо те, що банківська індустрія, наші торгові партнери, Національний банк України, Міністерство цифрової трансформації, інші міністерства зробили ще до війни. Бо та підготовка, якщо я можу так сказати, це слово використати, підготовка, це було дуже важливо, і ми це відчули по тому, як ми проходили і досить проходимо цей важкий тест, цей краш-тест. Ну, наприклад, зі своєї індустрії, що я можу сказати на сьогодні, що було зроблено? Ми запустили таку технологію, як Digital First. Я думаю, що багато хто знає, про що я говорю. Якщо ні, нагадаю, що це технологія, яка дозволяє імітувати, випускати картки у діджитальному середовищі. І далі залишається це кожен з нас. І тому для нас зараз це дуже важливо, що ця технологія, вона імплементована на українському ринку, бо тримати зв'язок з людьми, які переміщені як у межах України, так і поза межами України, нам дозволяє ця технологія. Доступ до
It helps us to keep connection with them. They have access to their accounts on banking system and all of us can feel that.
Імплементували ще до війни, це готівка на касі, або, може, знайома інша назва, перший час кешбек.
The technologies that we implemented was cash at the till or purchase cashback, where you could withdraw cash when purchasing something in the supermarket. During the first few days after the war started, we sort of adjusted this technology in a way where we increased the limit for cash withdrawal, because prior to the war it was 500 hryvnia. Starting with March, it's 6,000 hryvnia that you can withdraw at the till of a supermarket, pharmacy, a fuel tank station. And then we increased the number of partners that were cooperating with us threefold during the first 2 months of the war. Why is this important? Well, it is important because we remember what happened with cash in the first few days. To assist our partners, to assist our clients, to assist the cardholders to withdraw cash, not only at the ATMs. We expanded this technology, and we also increased the amount of money you can withdraw at the till. It is a very convenient technology, and we can see the strength strengthening, especially over the course of the first few months of the war. And this trend is very stable right now, and we can see that there's this habit on the market. So we're living not only through the ATMs, but also using the tills to withdraw cash. I would also remind you of another technology that has been implemented by us a long time before the war, but it has reached yet another momentum over the course of the past 9 months, is what we call pay-to-pay transfers, so an individual to an individual. especially taking into consideration that we have a lot of people who are currently internally displaced or who have immigrated abroad. It is a way for us to support our families, to support our friends. It is a way for us to continue collect money, raise funds for charity. What has happened? What type of trends do we see over the course of these 9 months? Well, first of all, we can see an increased interest to cloud solutions. And here we, together with our partners, continue to create new cloud solutions. So if there's a need for cloud solutions for MasterCard connectivity, we have already implemented a project on the Ukrainian market. What we have also done real quickly together with our PayPal partners, we have enabled in the first few months of the war, have enabled customers to transfer money from PayPal wallets to Ukrainian cards, which was not allowed prior to the war, and Ukrainian citizens were unable to use that feature. And I would also like to highlight yet another very important thing, that we did not stop. We did not stop, and we remember working tirelessly 24/7, continuing to lead all of the initiatives that we had planned prior or we had discussed with our partners prior to the beginning of the war. So I would like to express my words of sincere gratitude to all of the partners that we are cooperating with, because this cooperation is helping us pass through this very difficult times, very difficult test. Anna, maybe I can also add on this a little bit, because I don't know if somebody will ask this question. I just think it will be interesting, because very often people ask us regarding the segments, how do we restore the system? Yes, we can see certain stabilization, and I think this is very good news for the Ukrainian market, but the situation is very dependent on the segments that we will be discussing more specifically. Is situation changing for the better? Yes, the situation is changing for the better. It's stabilizing, but everything is heavily dependent on regions and on the sectors of economies that we'll be discussing. Because if we're discussing plane tickets, it's, I think, clear for everybody. It's very difficult to mention any type of stabilization in that field. If we're talking about clothing industry, right? That's also, there is a slight trend towards restoration of this industry, but it's nowhere near to prior to war levels. If we're talking about hotel business, that field has stabilized quite well. And if we're talking about food retail, I would like to also highlight that that's an area where we have stabilized. That's actually really cool. But if we're talking about the people who left Ukraine, because we often hear Ukrainian government saying that the number of people that had left actually impacts the situation in Ukraine, because it's very difficult for the economy to persist. So according to your calculations, how many people had left? How many Ukrainians are currently residing abroad? Because there are different numbers. Some people say 4 or 5 million. And of course, it changes every day, but you can see the situation clearly. What do you think the number is? In reality, we usually follow the official statistics together with a partner, because it allows us to see a fuller picture. And statistics are very different. The last estimates were 2.5 to 3 million Ukrainians. So we usually like to use that statistics. What is very important for us is to help Ukrainian banks to maintain connectivity using digital technology with Ukrainian clients, no matter where they are. And we can see that even the Ukrainians who migrated abroad continue to utilize Ukrainian payment cards. So the technologies that I mentioned prior, digital first card, where you can issue a digital card, it really assists all of us to maintain this connectivity with our customers. When your physical card no longer works, when it had expired, you can issue a digital card in your app, which happens real quick. And so Ukrainian clients continue to use those cards. I think this is the most important. And it is a task for us and our partners to enable Ukrainian clients, to enable this connectivity of Ukrainian citizens with Ukrainian banking system. This is amazing. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to hear that there are positive trends in certain segments. I would love to have the optimism restored in all areas. So moving on.
запитати вас стосовно
Natalia, I
страхування,
would like
взагалі
to
довгих
ask you
грошей. Що відбувається з
in
цим?
regards
Тому
to
що ми розуміємо,
insurance.
що
What happens to that?
Україні потрібні
Because we
будь-які гроші.
understand
І
that
як
Ukraine needs
приватні,
any type
та,
of
ну,
money.
чисті, але приватні,
Private
державні,
funding,
але
state
гроші для того, щоб
funding,
відновлювати нашу
but
державу,
we
коли ми
need funding
переможемо.
to restore.
Progress.
Investing money they shall to be keeping in mind when they will speaking about the future economic development of Ukrainian. And as we see, the principle of boosting economy is also to give the internal and external investors assure that their assets will not be taken away from them in any case. And if we have a look in the past, and if we see that right after the Second World War over, each European and English government appealed to their citizens to keep and invest the money of citizens to restore their economic and their local economic. And the one principle was also to invest money to long-term insurance and long-term insurance, and the investments insurance program was, as we know, unit-link, also was life and personal insurance, like medical insurance, because this kind of insurance is some kinds of social support for citizens who staying with Ukraine and who will stay with Ukraine and who will come back to Ukraine to restore our countries. And for now, we see that Ukraine is not alone, and they have a very huge support from all kinds of different countries and European unions, and all of them are interested to restore Ukrainian economy. Also, they see that it's very important for now to give some guarantees, instrument for external investors. It's also very important because for now, and it was not the case in the past. The European Union till now doesn't have such experience, but it's time to start to think how it could be organized for right now and for future. And frankly speaking, we understand that it should be created very significant special funds which could be used sooner or later to ensure covering if some unexpected war risk will happen again in Ukraine. Such funds should be created not only from private business and not only as insurance donation, but also from government and European institution, as we see, because it's we see a lot of damages that happened. It's not the case of insurance covering, and we all know that a lot of investors increased these questions since the war happens, and it's still in the discussion. If we speak about the insurance market, we see that since COVID times, since year 2019, the insurance market see a very huge demand for medical insurance because year to year this part of insurance contracts which could be keeping to be prolonged. And the second principle is also that insurance product has to have investments part, and it should consist from mix of the maybe European and Ukrainian securities, which will be used to restore the Ukrainian economy, as I see. And to develop all these trends, a close dialogue and involvement of state institutions is also needed. And if we see also the experience of European Union's countries after the Second World War time, the close interest their governments in insurance penetration for nowadays demonstrate that this penetration achieved from 5 till 11% in their GDP.
Thank you so much, Natalia. And let us continue. I'm happy to include into discussion Sergei Marchenko, the Minister of Finance of Ukraine. Sergei is and he will talk to us in Ukrainian. Сергію, доброго дня, вітаю вас на наших загальних зборах. Ви вже традиційний наш гість, і за це ми дуже вдячні. І, власне, дуже хотілося б від вас почути, Яким чином ви очікуєте, буде розвиватися економічна ситуація, взагалі фінансова ситуація в наступному році? Звісно, ми розуміємо і читали взагалі бюджети, але, звісно, ситуація міняється на щоденному рівні. Тому, будь ласка, можливо, ви можете розказати, на що ви розраховуєте і що ви очікуєте від бізнес-спільноти, окрім того, щоб сплачувати транспарентно податки і збори до державного бюджету. Можливо, ви розкажете, що планується щодо фіскальної політики, можливо, якісь зміни оподаткування будуть, не будуть, митниця. Ну, тобто, все, що ви можете для того, щоб обрисувати взагалі потенціал майбутнього для України і взагалі для бізнес-спільноти в ній. Сергію?
Дякую. Аня, мене чутно?
Чутно і видно.
Доброго дня, колеги. Я з щирою вдячністю вітаю вас всіх на щорічному забранні. Я з радістю відвідую ваші заходи. Хочу сказати, що те, що ми зараз відчуваємо і...
Чутно.
Recording in progress.
І дозволяє нам мати стабільність макрофінансової ситуації. Тому що я хочу нагадати, за рахунок податків ми в першу чергу можемо утримувати власну армію. І тому, сплачуючи податки, бізнес допомагає нам виграти цю війну. Це мої слова вдячності, вони без перебільшення відверті. Я відверто кажу, що я вболіваю за те, щоб бізнес український розвивався, мав можливість хоча б не закриватись, а як мінімум втримувати ті позиції, які є. Зі свого боку ми намагаємося створити ті умови для того, щоб бізнес як мінімум мав стабільне і передбачувальне середовище. І тому, коли мене запитуєте, чи плануються якісь зміни, з боку Міністерства фінансів наше ключове завдання – забезпечити ситуацію, щоб вона була максимально прогнозованою і стабільною. Тому я не схильний до різких кроків. Всі будь-які рішення і різкі кроки мають бути ретельно прораховані, тому що всі вони несуть за собою наслідки. І, умовно кажучи, послаблення...
Their implications. Any decrease in the profit made by a certain field or a certain area of economy means increased pressure on other fields or other areas of economy. So we all have to be very careful in our decisions. In regards to the macroeconomic situation, what we see today is that the number of businesses and their ability to pay taxes as compared to the first 3 months of the Armed Aggression of the Russian Federation has increased. They had changed. And business had practically adapted to the given conditions. We can see that by the taxes paid into the taxation system, into the import duty system, business has adapted and it is able to support the state. For the next year, we're actually anticipating that the situation will not be a simple one because the war is still going on. So we are anticipating that the economy will partially restore, but it will greatly depend on our ability to maintain the security of critical infrastructure, which is most important thing for us today, which is why the government is making decisions to diversify the sources of electricity. And so we're calling on businesses to find solutions to the energy crisis. So to look for diversification opportunities, because critical infrastructure is one of the key weaknesses right now for us. In regards to other innovations, changes, we are very pragmatic and very skeptical to all changes right now, because we have to maintain control over the situation. Which is why I would like to thank businesses once again for paying your taxes. I know that there are many challenges right now, especially in the operations of fiscal agencies. We're trying to tackle those issues to make sure that business does not struggle from the drawbacks of bureaucracy. I don't want to name specific problems, but you can see them quite clearly. We have identified them and we're trying to tackle them together with a tax office and with the border guard service. Unfortunately, not everything works out right away, but we see that and we're trying to tackle it. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for the invitation to be here.
Ну, дійсно, дякую вам, Сергію. Ми розуміємо,
Thank you so
наскільки
much,
важко,
Sergey.
чесно кажучи,
We
і вам тримати
understand
також свою
how
лінію оборони,
difficult it
тому що
is for you
ми
to
всі
hold your
бачили
defense lines as
державний
well.
бюджет, бачимо, що
Because we
він
all
залежить не тільки
saw
від
the state
податків, а
budget,
також
we
від
all know that it depends
зовнішньої
not only
допомоги.
on taxes,
Я
but
вам,
also
чесно кажучи,
external
бажаю від
aid.
всіх нас успіхів
So
в
on
тому,
behalf of
щоб
all of us, I would like to
втримати
wish you
кермо для того,
success
щоб
in holding
ну,
the
не
realm,
тільки ми витримали ці виклики з приводу
for us to not only be resilient in the face of these
не
challenges,
тільки виклики, які в нас стоять в економічному просторі, а взагалі витримали і критичне навантаження, яке виникає
but also for
в
us to
питаннях
withstand this
енергетики
critical
і зв'язку. Тому
complications in
я вам
terms
бажаю
of
дійсно от
infrastructure and communication. So I wish you resilience because aren't you Iron Man? So you already have great experience that I think that should assist you in tackling all of these challenges that you're facing nowadays.
So thank you, and I hope that fiscal policy stays on path, and we in our regular daily dialogue will be able to discuss everything. It seems to me that we hear each other well. Thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's the important question to discuss. First of all, I would like to say confirm what Sergey said earlier during this panel. The National Bank of Ukraine and all commercial banks, especially systemically important financial institutions, are working on ensuring the continuity of the critical banking services during potential blackout. That was actually one of the most important topics of discussion in Kharkiv yesterday evening. So where the NBU governor and 3 deputy governors were present and all CEOs of all systemically important financial institutions. Basically, to say that I think personally that the probability of the full blackout of Ukraine as a whole country is actually low. And even if that blackout would happen, it's most likely that the electricity supply would be restored within actually a few days. And under this scenario, which we are all preparing for, in spite of low probabilities, I think that the banking system would be able to provide at least critical services. And just maybe to go into more details on what type of services I think would be available. You could see what is happening now with so-called вілові відключення, so planned electricity breakdowns, and sometimes even the
whole regions get into the blackout. The regional blackout, with some regions like Ternopil after the last bombardment went off electricity for most of the day already happening. So, and what you see there is basically this. So payments, card payments, all the banking payments go uninterrupted. I think here I would basically mention that the fact that few banks, I can mention Raiffeisen Bank for sure, moved all the critical infrastructure, all critical IT systems, all customer data, transactional processing, all digital mobile applications for private individuals and corporate clients in the cloud helps. So we actually have the most critical infrastructure in the cloud, Amazon Web Services, and therefore it's really independent of the electricity supplies in Ukraine. That's important thing. So what we see, the payment flow is uninterrupted. All types of payments are being processed. What is actually loans are processed, foreign exchange, all standard transactions of the banking sector are being processed in the partial blockouts per regions, right? What is affected is the operations of certain branches, bank branches, right? ATMs and post terminals. These are local infrastructure which depends on the electricity and connectivity, and that sometimes may go off track. So what we saw on the last bombardment in Raiffeisen, so we, for example, we opened 313 branches in the country, out of which only 54 were without electricity, right? So temporarily. So, but they were working mostly like consulting offices for clients, but they didn't have electricity for a certain period of time during the day. But all the rest were actually having electricity. And I can tell you 100% of the base branches, the core branches that we have, never lost electricity in any circumstances. And I think they will never lose that one, even the blackout scenario. The simple reason is because we in Raiffeisen, and I know other banks are doing the same, we installed sufficient amount of power generators, and we stocked ourselves with, we believe, sufficient amount of fuel, which would allow us to provide critical services during the few days of potential blackout. I think this is important parts. So what we could expect in the blackout, in an unlikely event that happens through the whole country, that not all the branches will be working, but there will be quite a large number of branches across the country from all banks, which will be operational, which will have electricity, fuel, and ATMs will be working. People could go and make payments there. So there would be a kind of the operational centers in the whole country. That's what we discussed actually with the NBU and other banks. And I think that would be like a common infrastructure for everybody. So it gives me comfort to say that the basic transactions which would require to be performed by the clients of the bank will continue during the blackout. At least that's my understanding at this point in time. Exactly. Thank you so much for saying this. And just maybe one important addition. So as you correctly said, the banking system, financial sector is actually a critical part of the critical infrastructure, together with the energy, with electricity, with telecoms, internet providers. We are all part of the critical infrastructure. So we depend on each other. It's not like the banking sector could exist or function without other critical infrastructure providers. But what I know is that not only the banks and the National Bank of Ukraine are working on very hard on contingency plans and doing real things to ensure the continuity of the services during the blackout, but all parts of the critical infrastructure, all our partners and counterparts in the areas I mentioned are working very hard. We talk to them on a regular basis. We know their contingency plan. We know what we are doing. Telco, electricity providers, internet providers, we know what they're doing. So part of my comfort, and I'm happy to hear of your comfort, comes from the fact this is not just banking system or banks are working. It's the whole critical infrastructure of the country. And the fact that we were able to perform so well so far all together is nothing short of remarkable. I mean, I hear from many colleagues abroad that, hey, what you're doing is a miracle. In any other countries in Europe, we could not survive. We did survive, and we will survive. That's the message.
For this year, for the new year, because everyone should work together in order to survive. We just feel this very at this very moment. We feel this. So I would like to thank Sergei Marchenko, Alexander Pisaruk, Inga Andreeva, Vahram Stepanyan, Natalia Basilevskaya, Tomasz Fiala for their Sergei Nikolaichuk for their insights for this panel, and I really hope that our brave economy will really sustain, and it will be even more successful, much more successful when the victory of Ukraine would come. Thank you. Let's move on. We have two more panels, so we do not stop. And I would like to launch the next question to the audience, which is dealing with global expansion. And the question on the screen would be, does your company have an interest in the global expansion? Yes, no, or we are a global business? And for this for the panel discussion, I would like to invite the next speakers. And the next speakers, I see already the first one, Oliver Gerlitz, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Bayer. We have also Oliver Varhelai, European Commission, Commissioner on Neighborhood and Enlargement. It is going to be a video. Olga Stefanishina also, it will be video, and she will be online. And Vsevolod Chentsov, Ambassador extraordinary of the mission of Ukraine to the European Union and European Atomic Energy Community. Then Mati Maiskas, Ambassador of the European Union to Ukraine, Head of European Union Delegation to Ukraine, and Farid Safarov, Deputy Minister of Energy of Ukraine. Oliver is here. It seems to me I mentioned all. No? If I miss somebody, I will then actually correct that. Let's probably start from video. And we have results. Yes, no, please join. Yes, no, basically we see that majority of our members are global companies, but still majority of those ones who are not global companies, they're interested in global expansion, which is really cool. Let's launch now a video of Oliver Varhelai.
Excellencies, honorable members of the European Business Association of Ukraine, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to address today the annual membership meeting. The Russian war of aggression has devastating economic and social costs for Ukraine. Business and the economy have been severely affected, while it also has far-reaching global consequences, causing food, energy, and cost of living crises. As Ukraine is fighting daily for its freedom, I commend its remarkable determination, strength, and resilience to maintain macroeconomic stability, the functioning of the banking sector, and the country's public services. Since the beginning of the war, the EU and its member states have mobilized over 19 billion euros of assistance to Ukraine, including financial support and humanitarian aid. Moreover, on the 9th of November, the European Commission proposed an unprecedented financial support package for Ukraine of up to 18 billion euros to help Ukraine cover a significant part of its short-term funding needs for 2023. To support the private sector, the EU has adjusted its programs to create new income opportunities for internally displaced persons and relocated enterprises affected by the war. We have set up solidarity lanes, which have become a lifeline for Ukraine's exports. With the help of these solidarity lanes, we created new logistical corridors between Ukraine and the EU, covering trade in both directions. The Economic and Investment Plan, which was established before the war, will serve as an essential vehicle in the reconstruction of Ukraine. The plan will mobilize investments and leverage private sector involvement in Ukraine. We have flagship initiatives to support SMEs, the economic transition of rural areas, the upgrade of border crossing points, the speeding up of the digital transition, and support the investment into secure and sustainable energy. Unfortunately, these sectors suffered significant damage during the war. Thus, their support is vital. On the 23rd of June, the European Council decided to recognize the European perspective and to grant the candidate status to Ukraine. This recognition is a clear message that the future of Ukraine and its citizens lies within the European Union. The continuation of Ukraine's alignment with the EU legislation and policies will be vital to create a favorable environment for SME development and foreign investments. Moreover, further structural reforms are necessary to improve Ukraine's business and investment climate. Especially, Ukraine needs to advance reforms in anti-corruption. It needs to reduce oligarchs' state footprint and influence. It needs to strengthen private property rights, and it needs to enhance labor market flexibility. I'm confident that Ukraine will be able to implement these reforms expected from a candidate country by aligning with EU standards and laying the foundation for green and digital transitions. I wish you a successful meeting, and I hope that the next annual gathering of the European Business Association can take place safely in Kiev. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We also hope that our next annual general membership meeting could safely be held in Kiev. And I would like to welcome the next video of Olga Stefanishyna, Deputy Prime Minister for European Integration. Please welcome of Ukraine.
Друзі, вітаю. Дякую пані віце-прем'єрці з питань євроінтеграції Ольгі Стефанішиної за те, що доєдналася до наших загальних зборів. І, власне, це важливо для нас, адже нам цікаво взагалі почути, що відбувається в царині євроінтеграції. Взагалі, наскільки реально стати в найближчі роки членом Європейського Союзу. Тому, Ольга, вітаю. Дякую ще раз. І, будь ласка, пролий нам світло стосовно того, що нам очікувати.
Привіт, Аню, привіт всім учасникам. Я не буду повторювати ту мантру, яку ми вже всі завчили, да, там, що ми там робимо, 7 рекомендацій, як це було і так далі. Вже сама не можу про це говорити. Я б хотіла просто...
Ти простими словами скажи, коли станемо членом ЄС і НАТО?
Ну, дивіться, ми без вас, без бізнесу, без українського бізнесу, без іноземного бізнесу, який працює тут в Україні, ми просто не зможемо цього зробити. Як би добре ми не виконували політичні критерії, ви бачите, що динаміка добра, наше громадянське суспільство, як завжди, критичне, але ми, мабуть...
Of the 4th of February, you have seen that we are doing everything that is impossible, and sometimes, yes, it takes more time. We as politicians are pretty mobilized, parliament, government, all presidential team to cover all political criteria, to help our friends to continue working. We consider we assume that the first part of the next year, European Commission can already estimate political criteria alignment and then continue working on next decisions on transitioning to negotiation process. We have pretty good current data, root data. Sorry, no sound of the audio. Italy, France, they support us, they support our initiatives. So politically, we actually finished the season pretty well and we move pretty well to the next one. But we already have a very good base on preparation to negotiations. European Commission will have huge report on all estimations that will cover all sectors: transport, energy, social services, telecom, transportation, everything that you know very well. This estimation will be about the progress that was gained in Ukraine, and also those questions that still has to be covered to actually um, to be in alignment with the demands of European Union. So it's basic position two sides will work on. So we will continue working on negotiations, and this report that we will have in the end of the year, that will be the basis of preparation of negotiations of Ukraine. We think that we will be able with the European Commission to arrange this report to make public, so all stakeholders could familiarize themselves with it, and on the basis of that, from January we will start working on negotiation position of Ukraine. And here tension, don't get too relaxed. It's my principal position, because politically we as leaders should join the EU as much as fast as possible to have very fast negotiations, but we understand that we are ambitious big country and we do not want anything that might jeopardize our competitiveness.
Ukrainian companies, because we have to preserve our national market, we have to maintain our ability to support local producers, and also to make sure that our producers could be competitive on the European market. That's when we'll be able to become a unified economic platform. It is all related to the war, of course, since after the end of the war, after our victory, and for the time of the war right now, we'll have to maintain sort of a transitional period in order to stabilize the economy, to support business, to rebuild the country. But at the same time, we have to also keep in mind that we're living in a this really great sea, but we'll end up in an ocean of 500 million consumers. And so the difference between the association and negotiations in becoming a part of the EU, a member of the EU, differs, because the conditions on which we join the EU cannot be revised later post factum, which is very complicated, which is very serious. And since we are talking about something more than cooperation, something more about the free market zone, it's like we're living in this separate apartment, and then all of a sudden we move into a larger house. So this is an extremely serious process, and I believe that the driver of the Ukrainian position has to be Ukrainian business. So that's why I call on the EBA, I call on the companies, on the association, to create teams that will be working on this, which is very, very important. And so we are very serious about this. And starting with January next year, we'll start drafting our own stance on every area of future negotiations. You probably remember how we were approving the negotiation, how we were approving our negotiation stance for the association agreement, which unfortunately led to the complete liberalization of the market. But that was a very useful experience, because we used those proposals to draft a Ukrainian proposal to revise the agreement. We understood that the market was not really a subject of our cooperation with the EU because it was not developed enough during our negotiations. That was a very useful experience for all of us, and I think we'll be able to come back to that mechanism while developing our stance for the negotiations on joining the EU. So I think next year will be very important So we have to streamline our work in this regard. We will respond to your requests and we'll draft our requests. And as far as I understand, we'll just have to follow through with the ambitious goal that the president of Ukraine has stated, that we need to launch a process not on the annual basis, on a decade basis, but we need to make sure that this is the very extensive process where Ukraine will be able to join both EU and NATO, because it will be a security guarantee for our country. I have a separate question in regard to funding, because a lot of people are talking about the fact that the frozen assets of the Russian Federation will be used to pay reparations. A lot of people are discussing the fact that there are different platforms for the rebuilding and restoration of Ukraine being established. How does the situation look right now? Because we can see that there's not enough money going to the private sector. So what's happening in that regard? What do we have to focus on, and what can we do to actually expedite the process? Of course, we're talking about restoration for survival. We're talking about restoration that is aimed at the restoration of energy infrastructure and other elements of critical infrastructure, people's homes. So we're restoring everything to make sure that the civilian population survives, and also to support the ability of the state budget to operate as the main instrument of unity of the state, which requires a lot of funding. In particular, talking about the fact that the main contributors of Ukraine's stability are the US and the EU right now, as they monthly support us and support the national budget. I just want to make sure that you understand that the scale of support that is envisaged by the EU equals to all of the amount of funds that were provided to Ukraine over the course of the last 8 years. And it even exceeds it. So it's 18 billion, right? Right. And that's only about the macro financing support program. We're not talking about the entire amount of funds, which is a EU. And the respective funding is also provided by the International Monetary Fund in the US. So our primary task is to survive, of course. Ukrainian companies, Ukrainian businesses are only able to function because the state functions. I think this is very clear for everyone right now. At the same time, we're calling on all of you to launching joint projects with EU countries that allows us to draw in EU funding from different structural funds. We have launched a pilot project with Slovakia. I am the lead of the Ukrainian Slovakia Economic Commission, and we will announce that we're starting to work on the joint interest programs. This is a joint initiative of two countries, which envisages either infrastructure projects or joint production or energy projects, so projects in any field, right? And it enables us to engage funding that is usually allocated for the development of those countries, but not for Ukraine. This is something that we can talk about today, but we also understand that there's a demand of the Ukrainian business for support. You know that the state is supporting both small and medium scale business as much as possible through different grants, through different programs. We currently have the crediting program for business. It's still operational, but our capabilities are limited. So we're grateful to the Ukrainian business for showing this extreme resilience, extreme capabilities. You know that I led the humanitarian staff in the first few months of war, and it was miraculous for me to see what was happening on the battlefield. It was miraculous to see what was happening with Ukrainian people and with Ukrainian business, as the business was delivering, producing, operating, transporting 24/7 into the occupied territories of Ukraine, into the non-occupied territories of Ukraine. I'm extremely proud of all of you. We are assisting and supporting as much as we can, but we have to survive today until our victory. It will happen for sure. It will happen for sure. We see clearly that we are a really great team together. We are following our government in terms of resilience, our president, his team. which I think why Economic Front has to also hold down the lines together with the armed forces of Ukraine. So thank you so much. And I wish you to please stay safe, to safeguard our Euro integration front, because it gives us perspectives for the future, gives us hopes. And I also believe that next year there might be some negotiations in regards to joining NATO, and this is also a security front that might later fall on your tender shoulders. So let's move on. Thank you so much. And becoming a NATO member is definitely the most significant element of stability, which comes for absolutely free of charge. And if we may talk about support or security guarantees, risk insurance, right? I think NATO would be the most important element of that. The process is very different to the process of becoming an EU member. It's a non-public process, but I can reaffirm you that we have many friends and we'll definitely find a great formula to all of our, and we'll turn all of our non-friends into partners, and we'll definitely win.
English, but nevertheless, the key essence is that the vision of European integration is really very clear. So Ukraine would like to become a member of the European Union. And I would like to ask Vsevolod, our ambassador to the European Union, what do you see as perspectives when it comes to this vector? Do you see that this job or this way would be not bumpy or bumpy? Will it be easy for Ukraine or not easy? And what we as the business community could do in order to accelerate your efforts? Yes, it's obvious.
Thank you. Yes, thank you first of all for inviting me and the colleagues from the mission. We really enjoy our cooperation with EBA, and Olga just said what I wanted to say, that we are one team, both government, diplomacy, business community working together hand in hand to overcome this ongoing terrible consequences and devastation. But at the same time, Ukraine is still open for business, as it was the case during the World War II with Great Britain and other countries. So we are fighting on different fronts, including keeping our economy, our business infrastructure intact and working. Whether we have a perspective, yes, we have. So all political messages were given. Commissioner Vargey, Olga Stefanishina. Indeed, we have a clear decision of the European Council, certain steps to be accomplished to get there. I mean, the beginning of the negotiation process. But we have already a lot now to develop trade and economic relations in different sectors with the European Union. And in spite of all difficulties during the last 9 months, we managed even to upgrade this level of relations and also legislative base of those relations. I mean synchronization with EU electricity grid, opening the transportation market for Ukraine service providers, which was a big problem with permits and living here. And it's not only about, daily calls. So it's important for business. So
recording in progress.
How you can travel, how you can communicate with your peers, it's important. So we managed to make a few important steps during even those nine difficult months. Why? Because we have a solid basis, which is the association agreement, and it's really unique. And we understood why it is unique, because you can really gradually integrate into the common market already on this basis. Now we are working on the model how to legalize this opening for roaming, which was a kind of unilateral step by the EU service providers. Partnership, raw material partnership. Just last week there were several events, including one dedicated specifically for Ukraine. How Ukraine can contribute to the European autonomy in this field. Also about renewable gases. So, and we are talking renewable gases. So, and we are talking about biogas, we are talking about methanol. We are working now, it's already finalized, but it to be decided when we can sign it, relevant memorandum of understanding, and the working plan will follow. So we are setting a basis for the next steps, big next steps, as soon as it will be possible after this war is over, after we win this war. So I think it's very important to understand that Ukraine should not wait until we start negotiation process, when we finalize negotiation. We can do a lot now.
This is totally understandable, and it seems to me Ukraine have no choice actually to wait. It has just have to act and go forward. And it seems to me this is really clearly articulated by all governmental leaders that Ukraine will not stop. But the question is whether EU is going not to stop actually on this path. But we will actually continue, and we will listen Mati Maisikas with his remarks on European side as well. What kind of response could be given from EU side to Ukrainian actions and aspirations in terms of EU membership? Mati, can you join us?
Ви мене чуєте, Анна?
Do we have him already?
Ви мене чуєте?
If not yet, I will then ask, by the way, while Mati is joining, Vsevolod, do you think that the queues on the border can reduce a little bit? Because currently you heard this message from Tomasz Fiala, but obviously everybody else is also feeling that these queues on the border with EU, they are pretty long. How do you think it's possible to address this issue in order to reduce a little?
Well, it's a combination of many factors, because for the time being our infrastructure on the border, it does not objectively correspond to the needs because of the of the human traffic and also goods brought in and out of Ukraine, and we are working hard both with the neighboring countries, so-called frontline countries, and European Commission. And just recently, 10 days ago, so the European Commission announced a big package of support to develop solidarity lines. 1 billion euro was announced, which compose EU, European Commission support, EBRD, EIB support, and also Connecting Europe facility, which is available now for Ukraine. And part of those money will be dedicated to really facilitation of traffic through the border, developing of the border crossing points, roads, railway connections.
But it can take years.
Yes, but there are also quick decisions, designating special lines, for instance, for the heavy
for heavy trucks.
Yeah, for heavy trucks. Also facilitating procedures, and the fact that Ukraine joined the common transit procedure, so it's already great relief, and Ukrainian businesses should feel it already.
we feel it, but we would like to feel even more. So that really, we feel that still there are queues on the borders, and we would like actually to have really smooth transmitting the borders, because obviously it hits as well the economy of Ukraine, because it increases the prices of goods which are crossing back and forth. Now we have Mati online. Mati, what can be response from European side on the appetites of Ukraine to join the EU soon? Mati?
Can you hear me now?
Welcome to our general membership meeting.
Can you hear me now?
Huh?
Can you hear me now?
We cannot hear you.
You cannot?
Oh, yes.
You can now?
Yes.
Very good. Вітаю всіх учасників. Вітаю Анна, вітаю Всеволода. Друзі. I hope the sound of the generator does not impact the quality of the sound. I'm speaking to you from Kiev, and I have the luxury that most Ukrainians don't, to have a backup generator at my house. First of all, thanks for inviting me. Thanks for the absolutely tremendous work that the European Business Association has been doing and is doing with your members and member companies contributing to the continuous functioning of Ukraine's economy, to which the European Union has been and continues to be as supportive as possible. I mean, the brave vision is the headline of this conference. Brave you are, risking your lives every day, losing your people every day. But we want to think of the EU as having been pretty brave this year as well. I'm very grateful to Olga, my good friend and colleague, my most important counterpart in Ukraine, for the point she made on the 18 billion macrofinancial assistance, which is very close to be agreed by EU member states for next year. It not only equals or even oversees all the money we have been allocating to Ukraine since 2014, but it's also the first attempt to put this assistance on a more predictable, regular basis. All the big decisions that the EU has been taking over this year were ad hoc decisions, of course, because the situation is so grave. This macrofinancial assistance starting to be paid out already in January is the first big move towards having this support more consistent, predictable, and also giving assurances and certainty to the Ukrainian government. The trade liberalization that the EU did this year is unprecedented as well, especially abolishing all tariffs and quotas, especially against the background what Ukraine mostly exports to the EU. These are agricultural products which are very sensitive always, and in the EU member states are no exception here. So put it together with the solidarity lanes initiative. You are right on that it's a very complex undertaking. There are so many players, several EU member states with several agencies, Ukraine with its several agencies. Nevertheless, the success of this, if you look at how much Ukraine's grain and grain products, for instance, have been exported, which formerly were not exported overland, is tremendous, and our commitment to this arrangement is unwavering. All this, I mean, put together, these elements Ukrainian export to the EU has actually this year risen by 16%, which is a fantastic achievement. Pitchas Vili. So more broadly on our economic relations and the possibilities, you know that with you are exactly the people who know that the deep and comprehensive free trade agreement that we have had in place since 2017 has meant and is meaning that the Ukrainian companies, Ukrainian business adopts EU standards. And of course that the Ukrainian government authorities adopt EU standards. Without coping with EU standards, you can't trade with the EU, and this regulatory approximation is extremely important. It will be done in a more systematic way even when the accession negotiations start. Then you have all our attention. We go chapter by chapter, para by para. But it's it is a thing that merits doing even without formal accession process being in place.
So lots of things actually expect us ahead. A lot of things.
Oh yes. Also, the new initiative of integrating Ukraine with the EU single market where possible, which again will take time and again will take quite a lot from Ukraine to cope with the standards. The so-called industrial visa-free, the ACA, and the telecommunications market, most notably roaming that Sevalod also referred to, are the most promising avenues at the moment. And then, of course, the whole framework of EU's accession, which is as much political as it is technical or practical. And there, of course, coupling the economic reforms, coupling the post-war reconstruction with EU integration, EU reform process, and also eliminating corruption and the influence of oligarchs in the economy. These are the most important issues now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, and really good luck. And I'm so happy that you have generated. And I think that this is a very good thing, actually, to pass the floor to the energy sector, actually, to Farid Safarov from the Ministry of Energy of Ukraine, in order to ask him. First of all, he has obviously a generator, but he is part of the critical infrastructure. But nevertheless, what would be the future in terms of EU integration for the energy sector?
Good afternoon, colleagues. I appreciate for the invitation. I'm glad to see everyone, my colleagues from the government, the representatives of diplomatic missions, and the business representatives. So unfortunately, the energy sector is one of the most harmful, is in one of the most harmful situations for the moment due to the constant missile attacks of our infrastructure. Approximately 50% of our energy infrastructure is now damaged. So mainly those are the transmission and distribution systems, so-called substations with transformers and auto transformers, but as well as the generation by itself. So what we see is that the aggressor is trying to use different scenarios in order to see where the bottlenecks of our system, to split the energy sector of Ukraine between west and east, north and south, and actually to reach out the blackout. But what I can say for sure is that we will not lead to that. We're doing constantly amazing job. When I say we, I mean the ministry by itself, our transmission system operator and energy teams of all the DCOs and generations who are working 24/7 in order to quickly restore the electricity supply to private households and to the business. Unfortunately, since the 10th of October, when we had the first very severe attack to our infrastructure, we became the part of the history of mankind because it was the most severe attack of the energy infrastructure in the world history. And actually, we can definitely say that due to the results and consequences of such attacks, it is the biggest attack against the civilian infrastructure, because water supply, heating, and other critical infrastructures are closely dependent, fully dependent from electricity supply. A lot of people constantly ask us whether it would be possible for the aggressor to reach the line of blackout, whether the country will come into darkness. I can say that the architecture of the grid, its topology, and the way how the infrastructure is built will not lead to the full blackout all over the country. So it is really impossible, because the system is built in order to have a couple of reserve lines in order to distribute and to transmit electricity. But on the other side, we cannot predict and we cannot forecast what how strong the next attacks would be. That's why it is quite difficult to predict the situations that might occur. But for sure, we want to say that even if something very dangerous will happen, our energy teams, the engineers, and those people who are risking their lives daily will go and try to restore all the lines, try to restore all the distribution and transmission of electricity. That is the first message for you to be convenient.
It's excellent. It's really excellent. It gives so much of comfort, and it seems to be, it really helps us understand how interconnected we are between different sectors and how dependent we are on the electricity and on the energy. So basically, you have become one of the most important players on the Ukrainian front. But when it comes to EU integration, do you think that somehow approximation with EU standards can help you somehow also to give more resilience, strengths, and opportunities to the energy system of Ukraine?
Yeah, as you know, we made emergency synchronization approximately in 1960s, 1970s, and for sure it is something that is a legacy of the Soviet Union. On the one side, it is really strong enough, but on the other side, it uses more powerful, more high voltage equipment than our European colleagues do use. And that is, by the way, one of the main, I may not say problems, but one of the main backbones when trying to reach out European manufacturers in order to create the delivery and supply of needed equipment for the restoration. So just an example, we are using 330 and 750 transformers, and actually it's equipment by itself. And at the same time, Europe uses another standards, 220 and 440. So just to understand that, just believe that we started that work before the war, because we were planning to become the part of the European grid. But in terms of the restoration, the first task is to use any type of equipment in order to quickly restore the supply of electricity. And the second, and at the second stage, what we would do, we will build in parallel the infrastructures that would be very similar and common to the European standards.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and I would like really to wish you good luck as well, because we need luck for you so that the whole country can really sustain, and the whole system, the whole business community can bring also wealth to the country. So thank you so much for this. And you know, this military...
Yeah, I just wanted, can I please use my chance? So you have European business at place who are looking at us today and who participate in this major event. I just want to use the opportunity and to address that it is as well. So it may sound strange, but we definitely are working in terms of the development of the energy sector and in terms of attracting the investors, not necessarily now during this heating season, members of European Business Association and who are who have already invested money to Ukrainian energy market, I want to say that the strategy of Ukraine is to develop this sector drastically, and until the 2030, we want to increase in our energy mix percentage of the volume of renewables up to 25%, from 10% that we had before the war up to 25%. So the quarter of the market should be based on the green energy. And this definitely can be done. Just for you to understand how we want to do that is that we developed several instruments that are currently in the process of implementation. We are planning to switch from the green tariff to the modern market stimulation methods, using contract for difference model together with corporate PPA, warranties of origin, and net billing. So those who are doing business in this sector definitely understand what do we mean. Actually, that is something that they were addressing through your association as well. They have been addressing that for last couple of years and months before the war. So we are independently from the war situation, from the martial law, and from other occasions that we unfortunately are struggling, we're developing these processes as well. We're developing the energy strategy of Ukraine because we want to rebuild it better than it was. So we definitely invite those stakeholders who are interested in this in the development of green energy in Ukraine, both Ukrainian companies and international, to come to us, to come to you, yes, and we will make common meetings in order to discuss those possibilities. And
so thank you very much, and we will invite you also to next meetings in order to really to delve more into this subject, in order to use your expertise in order to bring new investors to our country, wonderful and brave country. Thank you. And since this military agenda, it brings lots of messes, and now I know that one of our board member and actually one of European investors is standing outside on the frost, in Kryvyi Rih, Mauro Longobardo. So please, I'm very happy to welcome you at our annual general membership meeting. And how are you there?
Thank you, Anna, and good morning, everybody, all the EBA members that are listening to us. I'm fine. No, the idea was to bring all of you in the heart of our production. So we are here in our Kryvyi Rih plant. Actually, behind me, you see our coke batteries in operations. As you know, when the war started, we have been somehow safely reducing our production at the beginning, but later we have been able to come back. We have been able to come back thanks to all the supports that we also heard here from the beginning in the morning about the logistic, the support of Ukrazaliznica to ship our material to different parts in Europe instead to the ports, and also the support now after the attacks to the electricity system that is giving us the opportunity to operate. We don't, of course, hide the difficulties that we are having. So our operation is currently at 25% what it should be. So that is the existing situation that we are having here. So we are operating, we still keep all our employees in our payroll. That is a very important target for us, was given this year. So everybody that used to work at ArcelorMittal Kryvyi Rih, 26,000 employees are still with us. Of course, not all of them are at work, and we try to make some rotations, and we try to reduce as much as we can the cost that is derived from the fact that we do not have the usual market. But still, we keep everybody here. It's very important for us to keep all our workforce ready, because we are listening that restarting is coming. So we have to be fully ready, not only with the infrastructure, but also with our people, in order to catch the opportunity and to start immediately after the war will allow us to do it. So if you want to go through the main issues that are affecting us now, just to reinforce what is the problem that we are suffering in this current moment. So one, of course, that we discuss a lot is the logistic. We used to produce 6 million tons of steel, of which 80% used to go through export, through the ports of Odessa and our own port in Mykolaiv. Currently, the situation of the ports, it's allowed for some grains, and we are trying to work as much as we can, and we know government is working hard, trying to see if there will be an opportunity to allow also metallurgical products to use such route. So far, we were not successful. So in the meantime, we have been developed together with Ukazaliznica the railway route that is going either to Poland or to Romania. So unfortunately, this railway route, despite now has available capacity for us, is having the limitation to increase our cost 5 times compared to the cost that we had before. So in a market that's somehow stagnating, especially in the target markets in which our products should go, we have a huge handicap that still we are not able to completely recover. So prices of our products, the final products in the market, are somehow at the level or lower than our cost to reach such market. So this is one of the main issue that we are trying to resolve as much as we can. From one side, we hope that the situation in the European market that is now open for us in the full extent will improve after winter. And from the other side, we hope that the negotiations that are ongoing will bring, some air, and there will be a possibility soon to reutilize the ports, the seaports that we actually used to use for the majority of our export. So this is one of the important things. In parallel, of course, since October, we have the issue of the electricity supply. So our company is generally consuming around 450 megawatt hour when it's producing at full. The current situation, of course, we are not at the same because we are at 20-25% of our production. So we are consuming around 120 megawatt hour. But after the attacks that occurred in October, these 120 megawatt hour are not always available. No? Of course, during the attacks were not available, and then the system has to absorb the source of electricity and redirect in different places where there are the priorities. So we are able to work, but some of our lines are switching on and off depending on the requirements that we receive. Everybody is working to solve it as soon as possible, because if not, even if market will be okay, even if ports will be okay, then we will not be able to raise our production at the level that it was before. So these are two main big issues that we're looking at now. No? There are two main obstacles on our way. When we're talking on the other side about the reconstruction of Ukraine, of course we are ready. As I mentioned before, our facility produces generally long products, so rebars, mainly for construction, wire rods, sections. So when reconstruction will start, we'll be able, of course, to give any type of, any quantity of material that will be necessary. I mentioned you before that we used to export 80% of our production. If Ukraine will increase the consumption as it is expected to be, so then we will redirect part of this export production to the domestic market. So we don't see any problem there. We will be fully ready for that. So finally, we are just waiting that this situation can quickly improve, and we will be ready to restart.
Thank you. And Mauro, with regards to European integration, as far as I understand, with one word, it will help you to do business or not? European integration of Ukraine.
Of course. So we had, up to the starting of the war, Ukraine had some quota, actually, for the export of metallurgical products. Fortunately, when the war started, the European Union decided to remove this quota. So today there is not a quota for export. Unfortunately, there is no market. So when quota was actually put in without restriction, there was no market. And this quota has been actually reduced for 1 year time, but we hope that it will not come back. So that means that for us, the European market will become one of the main markets. No, before we have these restrictions. So European integration will help, of course, us to serve the nearby market instead of having to export to, far countries. No?
Thank you, Mauro, and really be safe, continue to do business, and I'm sure that we will all cope. But now, as far as I understand as well, we have DTEC, Dmytro Sakharuk with us online, and we need to hear as well him. Dmytro, understand that you are under the really a huge pressure because of the situation in energy sector, but I really sincerely would like to thank you for joining us and for the opportunity to hear your insights and messages. Nowadays, DTEC is very public and sends different messages to the population, to the business community, and maybe you can also add something on top of everything which was already said. Whether DTEC and the whole system will be really sustainable enough in order to live through the winter, and we also have received today the message that energy system is pretty well constructed so that not to allow total blackouts. Do you agree with this? And can you please elaborate on this a little bit more?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Regarding the first part of your question on the resilience of the energy system, basically, of course, the energy system was not designed to sustain military attacks because switch yards, power plants, grid, they are just steel and wires, and it's very easy to destroy these objects, these facilities using the missiles, especially if the Russians use not one, but they use 100 miles at the same time. And there were 6 waves already of the attacks from Russians. So that should be another way to look at this issue. Basically, we need to protect and recover as quickly as possible from the damages. Basically, we have 3 main components of our success. First, it's effective anti-missile protection systems. And here we are improving. You could consider the rate of the hit down missiles from the beginning of October, and now it's different and it's growing up. And I hope that due to the help of our friends, our partners, the protection will go up. So this is the first thing. The second thing, it's all about civilian protection of the infrastructure. So we are protecting our transformers and other facilities with big bags, with containers, with country blocks, just to prevent damages from the explosion waves or some other small particles that just arrive after the explosions, and that also help. Of course, it's not so effective as anti-missile protection system. That protection could not prevent from the damage against the direct attack, but the auxiliary damages can be effective. And the third one is the third pillar. It's a quick recovery. So basically, here we need to have available materials, equipment, people, money, and very, very good coordination of this process in order to recover as quickly as possible after the attacks, in order to provide power to the households and to the businesses. And we've heard from, for example, from Kryvyi Rih, ArcelorMittal, that it's very important for them to have an appropriate volume of power in order to continue moving, to continue production. And these 3 pillars will be important until our victory, until Russians stop sending missiles. And this is a never-ending story for us, 24 hours per 7 to do this. And so far, we are successful, I think, despite all those difficulties that we have. The military, Ukrainian army, Ukrainian energy professionals, and Ukrainian people are showing miracles. Basically, the Ukrainian army show miracles in terms of how they hit the missiles. Ukrainian energy professionals, they are providing miracles by restoring quickly, and Ukrainians also do miracle by resisting, by showing a great power and great patience to the situations when there are no power in their houses. And those 3 components are important for our victory, and I'm sure that we will go through the winter, we will go through these difficult times, and we'll definitely be ready for new stage of Ukrainian history, for the post-war recovery, which will be very important also for Ukraine, because there will be needed a quick recovery, and power will be an important part of that. We, as the Ukrainian energy sector, will be ready for that, sure. And the last thing that I would like to say that in some cases, we will not restore the old equipment. We will build a new energy system. We will use innovative solutions that I will right now. We will definitely have a chance to significantly modernize our energy infrastructure when we do the post-war recovery, using the new approaches, new equipment, new ideas. That is also a unique chance for Ukraine to go to the next step of our development. And I believe that will take place for sure.
It's simply just undoubtable. It seems to me that indeed we should use this momentum. Of course, it's tragic momentum, tragic situation, tragic part of the history, but I think that it gives lots of opportunities for the future. And there was also invitation from the Ministry of Energy also to invest into green energy on these alternative energy projects, right? Do you consider that this can actually fly in the upcoming year or years? Because obviously green energy capacity has been actually situated in occupied territories, right? Do we have access now to these capacities, and are we ready actually to invest into green energy into Ukrainian economy?
I will tell you even more. We are continuing right now. We are continuing investing right now. We are continuing building one of our facilities right now, where we are going to add up to 100 megawatts of wind in next 3 months for the system. This is not a matter. We did not suspend this project. We continue building, and this is also very important to go through the winter, because yes, the up to 700 megawatt of renewables, solar and wind, are located on the occupied territory, including our wind. They are not operational right now, and we lost a lot of other facilities, nuclear, thermal power plants. So every megawatt of installed capacity in the system right now is important, critically important. And if this megawatt is provided by new green energy facilities, that is great. So that's why we are investing, and we'll continue in this direction as a company. The second thing is that one of our facilities already returned from the occupation, one of the facilities in Kherson region, right bank. What we are doing right now, we're trying to quickly recover. We're trying to repair, because it was damaged partially, our solar plant. It's not big, but we are trying to repair, first of all, demine, then repair, and then to put into grids to connect to the grid as quickly as possible. That will also add megawatt hours of the green energy. And this is definitely a future. And there will be 3 other directions that will also look at the investors. First is the battery storages. And we continue also investing, even we have a pilot project for 20 megawatt already, which is in progress of getting financing. And we will build it despite of the war as a company. The second is hydrogen, green hydrogen. And third is a small modular reactors. That will be a little bit, maybe not now, but maybe tomorrow, a great substitution to the obsolete and old base capacities in Ukraine, like coal or CHPs or even big nuclear. So I would advise investors watch not only to renewables, which is important, and but this is of today investments opportunities, but also look at the green hydrogen, battery storages, and small modular reactors. This will be a next step in the development of not only Ukraine but world energy sector.
But one final question to you with regards to security of the energy objects. Is it possible in theory actually to hide them under the ground? When it comes to the new energy system, would it be possible somehow to secure those objects against possible new attacks from the air? Or is it just completely unreal?
From technical point of view, we can hide under the ground on the small facilities, like small substations. But if we are talking about high voltage substations or thermal or nuclear, on hydro facilities, generation facilities. It's impossible. Just can give you an example. The high voltage substation usual size is approximately 50 hectares. As a territory, 50 hectares. The usual size of nuclear, I would say, 300,000 hectares. So the same, this 3,000 hectares, it's just huge. The same as the thermal power generation is also 100 hectares or 200 hectares. It's a big areas. It's impossible to hide this under the underground. It will be just impossible from physical point of view, but will be extremely costly. So I think that the most efficient, there is a more cost efficient, the most effective way is just to attach to every design of new facility, of energy facility in Ukraine, a special chapter that will be called anti-missile protection system, and that will be obligatory right now as an environmental section. That will be obligatory part of any design of the future energy objects called anti-missile protection systems. Wow. And we'll definitely build with that. And there is experience in Israel, for example. When they build in addition to the civil facilities, they add anti-missile protection system at the obligatory part. This is our future, having such neighbor, unfortunately.
I agree. So basically, you see that there is also some sort of potential cooperation and collaboration on all fronts in this respect. And I would like to thank you, Dmitro, and really wish you good luck, actually, to save the system, to save your objects, and really avoid possible total blackouts, so that really allow the whole economy to function. So lots of responsibility are on your shoulders. And now we don't know what is first, eggs or chicken, you know, because everybody is interconnected. So now, again, I'm sorry that actually Oliver and Valeria are sitting here, but nevertheless, again, this military mode asks us to change quickly and to be agile. You know that for sure. And now we would like actually to join in Taras Vysotsky, First Deputy Minister of Agrarian Policy and Food of Ukraine. I would like to welcome Taras and ask him the first question with regards to grain corridor and actually access to the port, to the sea. Do you think that there would be some sort of potential actually to expand the corridors, to open access to different other actually infrastructural objects on the Black Sea for Ukrainian exports?
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you for the invitation and the possibility to participate. Actually, I have been listening to the previous discussion and do understand the importance of opening the Black Sea ports to all of the commodities. First of all, it's good news that the grain corridor has been prolonged for another 120 days. So far on the same conditions that it has been for the previous 4 months. And we already see the positive signals on the agricultural commodities markets, also in volumes and in prices, and assure that next days and weeks it will positively affect, because actually from the beginning of November everyone stopped before the uncertainty. When we talk about the possibility of increasing the number of ports, namely Mykolaiv port, or the number of commodities, I've heard about metal products, and I'm sure others as well, chemicals and others want to join. So of course it is always on the agenda. Actually, the official proposals of Ukrainian side sent to United Nations and Turkey have included a few things: prolongation for the whole year, not only 120 days, also increasement of the number of ports and increasements of the number of commodities. As our partners, United Nations and Turkey, communicate with Russia, so we are waiting for the feedback from the partners. We have signed the agreement. And of course, we are trying best, and with some small but still optimism, looking forward to the increasements of possibilities of this grain corridor, which should become the commodity corridor for Ukrainian goods. So let's wait for another news, and of course, as we receive them, they will be announced to all of the businesses, including European Business Association.
And health, it would be healthy for Ukrainian economy. Thank you so much, and continue doing. We will win. We will definitely win. And but by the way, what about eggs? Because there was some, kind of objection, not objection, but forecast that there would be some possibility of shortage of eggs in Ukraine. Is it wrong? Do you think that everything will be all right with eggs for the next year? Because chickens were actually dying.
The situation has been challenging, but no worries, no critical situation. Actually, we already see the prices going down, still not as the consumers would like, but already going down in the supermarkets, and the wholesale prices even going down faster. Also, we already see the increasement of a number of hens and which are put into production. So I would like to confirm that in terms of eggs, poultry, or any other basic agricultural commodity, there is no risk of deficit for Ukrainian consumers.
That's really very good to hear. So basically, we have food security in place. Excellent. Thank you so much, Taras. And let's move on. We should have actually Igor Smolyansky with us, the CEO of Ukrposhta, another also player of critical infrastructure. Igor, how are you? And what is your prospect actually for the future? And thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you all. Greetings to everyone. I mean, the prospects, I hope they're good. Obviously, right now we are focusing on preparing infrastructure to be able to work under any possible conditions. We joke that we knew how to work on the paper, even when it was not a mainstream yet. So we prepare different procedures so we can maintain delivering parcels, delivering pensions, getting payments for our utility providers with or without the electricity. So we are now focusing on getting base stations set up with generators, with Starlinks, with anything that's needed to get through the winter, and also preparing the infrastructure for a quick rollout in the deoccupied areas. As usual, we come right after our armed forces, so hopefully it will continue, and we'll continue to get more and more branches open.
But does it take a long period of time to restart operation in the occupied territory, which was deoccupied?
Yes. Usually we have 2-3 days. Basically, after armed forces, there are 2-3 days for demining. So we only wait for the branches and the roads to be demined. And as soon as that happens, we coming in, because we understand that usually you have 3 to 4 weeks without the power. So Kherson is actually probably a nice exception where it's relatively intact, and the infrastructure is more or less ready for quick restoration. Usually it's not the case, and we know it's not going to be the case in Zaporizhia. As a matter of fact, in Kherson, it's the same, not the case. If you go outside of Kherson, the villages and the roads are destroyed. So we understand that we'll need to work about 3-4 weeks without the power and without the connection. So we start working in the movable branches. We bring pensions, we bring food. We also bring, thanks to our international partners, we bring Red Cross payments and International Organization for Migration payments. So they need a big help. They're paying 1,200 hryvnias per person, Red Cross, and 2,200 from International Organization for Migration. It's a big help for people. And it's also important because it's hryvnia. So, you know, in some areas, there were no hryvnia for 5-6 months. So it's important that we bring this hryvnia sort of mass, and people begin to operate in hryvnia. They're getting these payments, they start buying things, even if it's small things. So this is how we restore. We understand the banks are not going to be able to work there, since they cannot work without the power or the connection. So 2-3 days. In some cases, I mean, in big cities they can. In villages, in most of the cases they were not present there before the war. So obviously, we understand it will be an issue after the war, because I was in many villages where before the war you had 3, 4, 6,000 people, and now there are 400 people. So
and you also continue to modernize. From the news we are hearing, Ukrposhta is going ahead. Can you please also tell us a little bit about your possible investments and your possible projects which we might see in the future?
Sure. First of all, I want to thank our European partners, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development and European Investment Bank, that helps us to finance it. We do not delay our investment. We had the goal of digitalizing the entire country, and that goal is still on. With the help again with our European partners, we just finished acquisition of 17,000 devices, which is 3-in-1 POS terminal, which will allow to work outside of big cities and villages in the online and offline regime. I wish I would have it now. Because it would allow to download all the information in the morning and then work the entire day and then download it at night. But you know, it is what it is. We plan to launch it in February and have the entire country digitalized by mid-year. We also invest in the sorting centers. I will not comment more because I don't want any rackets suddenly show up where we invest. So we do it in a very careful way. To proceed, and obviously we still plan on having our postal bank, I think, which is more critical than ever, given the state of infrastructure that's left by Russian occupiers, and it's a huge challenge. Again, that's the reason why we plan this high-tech investment, and nevertheless we plan it to be operational in the offline regime as well. As much as we would like Starlinks to be in every village, I think it will be some time before that happens. As a matter of fact, we also now testing a different technology, different from Starlink, with other Ukrainian companies, to see that we have, as much as we love Elon, we still have to have a backup solution to
be on the safe side. Yeah.
To be on the safe side.
But just smoothly to bring us back to European panel, because it was interrupted completely, but nevertheless, the question to you. Do you see some outlook for yourself, positive outlook for yourself, for this company, for Ukrposhta you're running, in terms of European integration of Ukraine? What is the potential in this area?
I hope we'll obviously integrate much faster in the European community in terms of our European partners. And by the way, we are thankful to our partners, first of all, from Poland, our partners from neighboring countries, because that's the only way Ukrainian export and import, postal export and import working now, because we obviously don't have our planes, and we are relying on our European partners to maintain thousands of jobs, because many people don't know, but Ukrainians are selling on Amazon, eBay, Etsy. It's over 100,000 jobs, and people are relying on us to send. It's small and medium enterprises relying on us to send it. So without the help of European partners, we won't be able to do it. That said, I do hope that they will operate as fast as us. Just to give you an example, another important partner that we have is Ukrainian Railways. So during the war, we launched moving parcels through railways, which had not been done in 21 years. We launched it in 5 days. Without memorandums or agreements or anything, we launched it in 5 days. So now it's 4th month when we're trying to launch into Poland. I hope we can move with European partners as fast as possible. We are happy that the postal law, despite any comments, was adopted. Now the postal environment of Ukraine is actually the most liberal law in the Europe. So we have postal European law. Basically, Ukrposhta, probably the only European postal company that will not receive subsidies from the budget. So we're already ahead of our partners. But I think the main point, the integration needs to happen fast, and I hope our European partners will, copy some of our techniques, some of our solutions that allow for a fast moving of the goods within EU.
Thank you so much, Igor. Good luck to you. Smooth development. And indeed, actually, speed really, it's a new motto as well to Ukraine, because from what I hear from our member companies, when it used to be to have 4 months or 5 or 6 months in order to launch this or another brand, nowadays it's been done for 1 month maximum, because otherwise it can be late already. So that's why, of course, this is the situation which is not felt yet that much in European Union, obviously, for obvious reasons. And thanks God, there is no this kind of pressing circumstances like we have in Ukraine. But nevertheless, obviously, it seems to me it gives us also some sort of competitive advantage as well, since we can work in an agile way, resilient way, and we are really strong. Thank you so much. And I'm coming back to our offline mode. We have here Valeria and we have Oliver. And I would like to ask Oliver and Valeria from the point of view of different kinds of companies. Oliver represents Bayer. And this is actually a multinational giant, obviously. And it's interesting to hear from your side, what kind of expectation do you have in terms of Ukraine's possible membership in the EU? The same question would come to Valeria, because she is the founder and actually the CEO of Ukrainian-owned company. She is actually the founder. And it would be really very interesting to hear your point of view with regards to what can it bring to you, to Ukrainian companies. Let's start from Oliver. What do you expect? Do you think that it will be improving your business operations in Ukraine?
Definitely. I mean, that is a huge opportunity. And it's not only expectation, it's also already reality. I mean, just a year ago, the EU and Ukraine found harmonization of grain exports from Ukraine to the European Union. And we started in last December for the first time to export grains from Ukraine into the European Union. That was rather small quantities. That was a trial. We wanted to see how the logistics work, the administration. But that is already a reality. That is already showing what integration means. And as a matter of fact, as this worked very well, and we see huge opportunities here, we have decided during the war period now in an investment in our seeds plant in Ukraine. It's a multi-million investment to increase our capacity purely for export. And so that is a practical example of what is already happening. And we will not see this as a big bang. I mean, from what we read or from what we hear, membership of Ukraine will not happen overnight. It will not be a very, very fast process, but what we would expect is that there is an ongoing integration process. Harmonization, free trade will become bigger. And that is something that is a huge win-win, because we are creating then jobs in Ukraine. We are creating revenues for the state too. And so that is a start. But that is, as I said, just a start. Go into different sectors where we are busy with pharmaceuticals. If one day, hopefully, the EMA, the European Medical Agency, and Ukraine would come to an harmonization and mutual agreement and acceptance of registrations, this would speed up to get products to Ukraine. Ukraine, as a single standing country, is not the biggest market, so many companies are looking very quickly into the European Union to register new drugs. In the business case, Ukraine quite often comes later. If that is mutually agreed, then we would see the same result. We would see that products can immediately be launched in Ukraine too. And it would also probably lead to a broader choice, because the business case for one country is very different than if you are part of the European Union or associated partner. So there's a huge opportunities, and I echo what earlier this morning Mr. Schumer said. We have seen during COVID that supply chains are very fragile. The magic word here is nearshoring. It's not only for us; it's in many industries. You're much closer. You have the qualified workforce. You don't have so high salaries in Ukraine today. So to launch our productions here, and we see also that the world is going into different block systems again, unfortunately. So to which extent producing in China is also a geopolitical threat that you may not get to the product from political pressure someday. So I see that there's a lot of opportunities, and at the same time Ukraine can bring so much to the table. An extremely well developed IT landscape, very motivated young people, low salaries. You have everything that is needed that brings value to the EU. Experience in digitalization. I mean, let's not forget, one of the two founders of WhatsApp was a Ukrainian. And that's something that you don't invent every day. And here's really an IT landscape that is added value. So yes, there's a lot of win-win for both sides. And the expectations of the industry is very high here.
Oh, that's good. And but also what we've got to know, actually traveling all around the countries, at least so far in European Union, having setting up the Global Business for Ukraine Association, we have noticed that there is lack of knowledge about Ukraine and Ukrainian business successes. And what is known actually on the European front is crisis, corruption, and the war in Ukraine. This is very well known narratives. And this kind of success stories, it is something which needs to be expanded and needs to be developed. And this is, by the way, one of the roles of the Global Business for Ukraine Association, which is extraterritorial arm of the EBA. Do you think it deserves attention? I mean, this proper PR for Ukraine on European market in order to warm up a little bit potential political, I would say, desire to accept Ukraine into the European family?
Absolutely. I mean, every crisis is an opportunity, and this is what Ukraine is doing very well with your president, making sure that this war remains in the head of the people and the needs of it. And there's a big solidarity, which is very positive, and that puts all of a sudden Ukraine in the middle of the attention. So when I see it in my company alone, the number of meetings that I had around the world to explain what is happening here and taking advantage of explaining all the potential of Ukraine, that is something that creates awareness, and that needs to happen more. And as I mentioned, your president is doing a fantastic job here. I think the government as such, EBA, is doing a fantastic job here with GB4U. So yes, we have to continue to go that way. That's absolutely sure. At the same time, yes, of course, it's a bumpy road. You mentioned it, corruption, rule of law is something that every company needs for a stable investment. So at some stage also the same government that is now fighting successfully back the Russians has to prove that also this kind of problems is tackled and that there is really tangible success. And that will determine the success of Ukraine in the future in the business world, but also their chances to get as quickly as possible into the European Union, because I think that is a major roadblock.
Totally share. And I think that we would need such kind of ambassadors as yourselves and the rest of other peers who would be really willing to explain to the public what's going on in the country, and they could fairly say these are the challenges and these are the opportunities. I would like to come now to Valeria Vacharovska from am I right with the surname? I'm sorry, just in case. And I would like to ask you, do you feel this European integration can bring you some also potential for dynamic growth? And the second question, which is also linked up to that, do you feel that you are welcome on the global market?
Thank you a lot, first of all, for the invitation. And thank you for this question. Look, I think that it's really a great opportunity, first of all, for Ukrainian companies, because it's true that our country is rich, first of all, on the great people. It's not just about brave, but it's also about talent. It's also about creativeness. And I think that, first of all, after blackout and after also like the darkness time will come light, and will come also the bright future. And I'm pretty sure that this bright future, it relates to, first of all, European integration. Because I think that now it's really a great time to change a lot of things internally in our country. And also, first of all, thank you so much for the National Bank and all the participants who was involved in implementation of a new regulation. Because I agree with my colleagues that even now we are preparing step by step our country for the European integration. And yes, it will be quite challenging for all companies because changes will be huge, but we need today to make our home task and to prepare our companies, to prepare our standards, policies. We need to be comply with the European regulation. And on the other hand, we definitely today should be focused on our products because we should really bring on the European market, we should be not just be ready to compete, but we really need to bring a great product. Because if you look on the young and emerging markets, it's every time all the emerging markets, they have a great technology, especially in the payments. It's something new one. And I think that as soon as happen, and I hope and I'm pretty sure that it will happen, and the Ukraine will become a member of Europe. And I think that we, as a financial technology company, we must bring in Europe a new technology because we have everything. We have great IT people, we have great ideas, and now the time for us to focus not just on our local market, because local markets, it's great, but we should also using the opportunity which has already were developed by National Bank with the new one rules. We need to use it. Yes, we will need to invest our time, our money in new technology, and it will be definitely not 1 year, but we should be ready in 3 years to bring in our markets and also international markets a great products which will focus on the problems and which will also bring a new one great product.
I'm just looking to you and at you, and I'm just really admiring this brightness, this, inspiration and this motivation to look ahead. It's really cool to see Ukrainian companies which are emerging and which are expanding on the global market. And I'm so happy that a potential European integration could help actually to make them even stronger. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we actually completed the panel on European integration, which was interrupted with critical infrastructure, but nevertheless, I think that it deserved attention. So thank you so much for this. And now we have the final panel, because we wanted to have somehow attention to the social projects in Ukraine, because lots of things, lots of fantastic projects have been launched. Unfortunately, during very bad circumstances, but nevertheless, we have now two final speakers, Olga Rudneva and Katerina Osacha, who will now share what they are doing and the response which they receive also from the business community and ordinary people. So let's start from Olga. Olga, are you with us already? Катерина Осадча. Катерина, дуже рада вас вітати на нашій події. Я думаю, що для вас це вперше, але сподіваюся, не востаннє, тому що мені здається, що той проєкт, який ви робите, заслуговує на велику повагу і на подяку від всієї країни. Можете нам розказати про те, як просуваються справи в вашому проєкті, з чим ви стикаєтесь, де потрібна допомога і взагалі які перспективи ви бачите? І взагалі, знаєте, я просто хочу ще спитати вас, як ви виживаєте? Тому що, раніше до війни ви ж зробляли інше, зрозуміло, що інше. І як ви перебудувалися? Як ви змогли побудувати в собі оці різні процеси щодо резильєнсу, agility і всього іншого, для того, щоб пристосуватися до такої нової драматичної реальності, яка, я впевнена, через певний час буде знову світлою для нас, такою чудовою, яка дозволить нам просуватися вперед і бути успішними.
Our growth and success. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I would like to greet all of the panel and conference participants under these very complicated circumstances, but nevertheless, we all have found this time to exchange lessons learned, to exchange our experiences, and to see what type of bright future is expecting us ahead. taking in consideration the previous panel and previous speakers, yes, prior to the beginning of the full-scale invasion, I was working on TV. I continue to work on TV, but my role has changed a little bit. I used to be the host of a program on the Life of the Stars, and on February 23rd, I filmed 2 of the last episodes of the show. Talking about changing, it is obvious that everyone has changed. We all have been forced to adapt. On March 5th, I understood that the number of requests to find people that I had received is growing because people are posting social media posts asking about their families, and so we were trying to find people through social media, and so we understood that we need like a single avenue allowing us to search for people. We created this Telegram channel, and then we created a chat, and we started expanding this infrastructure, increasing the number of volunteers within the system. We started to structure the organization. And to say that it was difficult to adapt and rebuild, it wasn't really, because we all are proactive people. We understand what we need to do, how we need to do it. We all understand the goal behind it. The difficulty we faced was that there was no example to follow, to be honest, because in civilized countries, under the times of war, there wasn't really a mechanism to search for people. I know there's a lot of people listening to me right now, and they understand that this is unprecedented because neither the energy grid nor the IT field nor business, none of them had an example, a model of how to act in the time of war, neither in a moral context nor in business context nor in operational context or restructuring the company for the times of war. So that was an obstacle for me because in terms of searching for people, we are just relying on our own experience. There are, of course, international companies, international funds, International Red Cross Committee, who's dealing with searching for people lost in the Second World War, but we understand that they're not a proactive agent here in Ukraine. So we're building this on our own, stumbling as we go, communicating with the government, with appointed agencies, with international agencies. Is it difficult? Yes. Is it effective? Also, yes. Do we sometimes lose the will to continue? Also, yes. Because currently we know that there are certain issues of Ukrainians being detained on the occupied territories. We call them civilian prisoners of war. They're called criminals on the occupied territories because they're usually charged with alleged crimes like terrorism or something. And some people have been detained for more than 8 months. There's thousands of people like that. And these challenges that we are facing, they're happening every month, every 2 weeks. We're facing a new challenge, and we have to rebuild the structure on the inside again and again to redirect our efforts towards something else. We have started to cooperate more closely with the ombudsman in order to bring awareness to our work, because the fact that people are detained for months and sometimes we don't even know where they are detained, we don't know how they are, these challenges are very worrying, but we are constantly trying to do something about it. How do I manage to cope? I'm forced to move ahead by the idea that there isn't anyone but us. There's no other organization that will do this for us. Because on the daily, we have to get up and do what we do, because there isn't anyone who will come and do it instead of us. I'm working with volunteers on the daily, and in these 9 months, we had worked with more than 200 people, and then there are only 20 people left in our team because there's always burnout, right? It's very difficult to deal with human pain for such a long time. We deal with pain a lot because searching for people who are missing is not only searching for those who are alive. And so it is very difficult to cope mentally. And when we're talking about the power of people, it's important to mention the power of business in people, the power of NGOs in people, because we give people hope, we give people belief that they are important. Because since the beginning of the full-scale invasion, I believe that us, Ukrainians, have done so much to structure business relationships, to structure corporate ethics. We have moved ahead drastically in this regard because, in the world, the tolerance, the understanding of other people's problems is only starting to develop. The entire Ukrainian business under these circumstances has to be built completely on this idea. Every Ukrainian business leader has to understand what happens when their employees lose power. They have to understand what happens when the children are off school for a month. Every business leader has to relate to the fact that their employees cannot get up from the bed because they're so mentally drained from constant shellings. We all are forced to understand each other. No matter whether we're employers or employees, we have to understand each other. Because this is where the strength lies. And when volunteers approach me and say, Katya, I'm sorry, but I don't have enough mental capacity to continue working, I say, of course, sure, we understand. Sometimes those volunteers take a break for a month and then they come back to our project. Of course, when we are talking about paid employees, there are usually plans and estimations. But I think that this understanding that every person has, we have reached a point where every individual is important, and not only important through their skills, but also through their emotional experiences, and we have to be aware of that.
Ну, Катюш, чесно кажучи, я вперше вас бачу, не то, що бачу, неправда, що бачу вас онлайн на нашій загальній зустрічі, але, звісно, не вперше вас бачу на екранах.
But it's not my first time seeing you on the screen. I just want to take this opportunity to say that I'm a great fan of your capabilities. You're this idol of a self-made personality for me, and your career has developed right in front of me, and it grew from nothing to this contemporary progressive star to be proud of. So I would like to wish you resilience, resistance, adaptability, not only to you, but to all of us who are working in Ukraine or who are thinking about working in Ukraine. So maybe it will be interesting for you to hear more about different educational program or mental support program. Here at our EBA, we have an educational center. And some things that I haven't mentioned to all of you. This year, we see significant involvement of business, significant involvement of different business employees in educational programs and mental health programs. They're amongst the most popular. We see more than 900 people joining in. I'm just saying this to let you know that if your volunteers need any type of help, any type of mental support, you can always ask us, and we'll be more than happy to involve you in our projects to help each other. Thank you so much. And on my end, I know that there are many representatives of different businesses listening in to us right now. core conscious businesses. And I would like to, I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I would like to tell you about yet another project that we are working on. Because as you probably know, people say that you have to focus on one thing, but in reality, we don't really have the right to focus on one thing because there's such a high demand for assistance. And so together with the fund Tvoya Opora, we are working on purchasing accommodation for large families. We have already purchased the first home for a very large family. So I would like to take this opportunity to plug this project, to involve more companies that are listening to us in this project. Excellent, thank you so much. And I would like to ask for companies to join your ideas, to join your projects. And if you need any support on our end, just let us know. So we'll try to demonstrate understanding and try moving forward together. Thank you, Katya.
Я всіх вітаю і дуже чутно?
Can you hear me now?
Чутно, да. Я всіх вітаю.
So I would like to welcome all of you here. And I really hope that in the future we'll always meet in Kyiv. And I would like to thank EBA for supporting the traditions, for supporting businesses under these complicated circumstances that we are facing in Algeria, Ukraine. I believe that this experience and the solidarity of business and the heroism of Ukrainian people that they're demonstrating on the daily is actually very inspiring. It gives us hope that we will soon celebrate our victory in the city of Kyiv. It is a great honor for me to announce the results of the elections for the 8 board members of EBA among 17 candidates that were submitted. The voting was conducted online on the election body platform. From November 4th to November 17th, there were 164 out of 514 members of EBA, which constituted to 31.9% from the overall number of EBA members. According to the effective statute of the association, the election is considered valid if 30% of members have participated in the election process, which means that the election can be considered valid. And I have the great honor of announcing candidates that have received most votes. They were elected as members of the EBA board. Olena Voloshyna has received most votes. Please congratulate Olena. Then there was Taras Kitsmay, SoftServe, Olena Vdovichenko, Metro Cash and Carry Ukraine.
Тарас Кіцмей, SoftServe, Олена Вдовіченко, Metro Cash and Carry, вітаємо. Олександро Занелі, Nestlé Ukraine.
Олександро Занелі, Nestlé Ukraine.
Вітаємо. Богдан Ярмоленко.
Богдан Ярмоленко.
Ерстен Янг, Україна.
Ерстен Янг, Ukraine.
Гобардо.
Мауро Лонгобардо.
Кривий Ріг.
ArcelorMittal Кривий Ріг.
Володимир Лавренюк.
Володимир Лавренюк, Nexon Holding Ukraine.
Боряна Маналова, Siemens Україна.
And Mariana Manalova, Siemens Ukraine. We are hoping for fruitful cooperation next year and hoping for EBA to continue to actively participate and to assist Ukrainian business. And we're looking forward to conducting further endeavors in Kyiv. Thank you so much.